Press pause, put the controller down. It's time to talk about the gaming industry. My name is TJ Leo.
And I am Andrew.
And welcome to episode 7 of Press Pause, a gaming podcast. That's right, Andrew is back. Second week in a row. Bailstorm had a doctor's appointment that went a little too late. So Andrew's filling in once again. How are you? It's only been a week.
Yeah, I'm okay. I really tried to pop one of my joints right as the show started, like we were just talking about, and I don't think it came across. And I'm still looking really tiny in that audio waveform, but you tell me that it's going to equalize our voices, so I take your word for it.
Yep, sounds good. Sounds good on my end.
All right.
I want to try and introduce a short part of our intros where we talk about something non-gaming related. Have you seen a new movie recently, or a new TV show, or
No, not really. Nothing. Well, I mean, I told you the first time I was on that I watched the Fallout show, and that's about the most recent thing I watched. But that was a little while ago.
Yeah, I'm when it comes to extracurricular movie and TV show catching up, I'm so far behind. It's insane. I actually just watched Tenet.
Oh, okay.
It was last week, I think, because I'm a huge Christopher Nolan fan.
Mm-hmm.
Interstellar is probably my favorite movie of all time.
Yeah.
Inception's great as well. Dark Knight obviously is like a classic. So Tenet was okay though. It was fine. It wasn't as confusing as a lot of people were telling me it was though.
Yeah.
So I was kind of surprised at that, but
I
like time travel stuff.
My niece hates it when I do the Bane voice. So naturally I take every opportunity. In fact, I was looking after her last night. I was reading her a story, and my sister mentioned the Bane voice. And so I started reading the book to her like this. And she immediately hated it. Because of course she does.
I don't know how you do that, but it's good. It's very good.
It's all about cupping the hands over the... You got to get the hands over the mouth, but not over the nose. That's how you go from being muffled to being Bane.
I used to be able to do the movie trailer voiceover guy really well. I'm out of practice though, so I'm not going to embarrass myself by trying it now.
Yeah, you got to do something horrible to your throat. It's like, in a world where... and then you get this, and it's like, ow, it kind of hurts.
Yeah.
Or you do like Dr. Claw from Inspector Gadget. That one's rough. That's also the demon voice from Doom 2016, where it's like, in the first age, the shadows first lengthened. I can do about 10 sentences like that, and then I can't speak for the rest of the day because it is physically painful on the throat. Like I don't know what is happening in there, but it removes layers of organic matter.
And that guy that does it probably just talks. He's probably very little he has to do. He's just that character. It's it's hard to do. I'm more of an accent person these days. But what about games? Any new games you've been playing? Anything?
Well, there were the games that we played.
Sure.
But before we get into those, I'll talk about one that I tried to get back into, and then you had one that you were trying to remember.
I figured it out.
Yeah, so the other night I tried to jump back into a game called Pseudo Regalia, which
Rings the bells. Is that an RPG?
No, it is a throwback N64 style platforming game.
Oh, snap. Okay.
So it is designed to have a similar look and feel to a game from that era, from that level of technology.
You like the throwback games like Celico and...
I do. I like them a lot. There's a certain... I don't know if I'd say elegance, but there's the simplicity of some of that stuff makes it really easy to pick up and play. Because a lot of games these days are get you invested and spending hours playing it. And it's like, sometimes I just want to pick up and play a game almost like an arcade game, just jump in. And
I felt that way a lot recently.
And go for it. And that's why that kind of stuff really appeals to me. So I had been playing it a while ago, but I stopped because I was having a lot of trouble getting anywhere. The game is very maze-like,
Okay.
and the developer said they were going to add a map. So I said, okay, I'll stop and I'll wait until the map update happens. And the map update actually happened a little while ago, but I just hadn't picked it back up. And I was, I was looking through my Steam, and I said, oh yeah, I should boot that up again. And there's a map item on the menu, but it doesn't show a map. So maybe I gotta find one, but I'm having a hard time finding my way around the game
again,
because each area basically has one texture for the wall, one for the floor, and one for the ceiling, and all rooms in that area use that. So it's very easy for me to get turned around and walking around in circles. There's not even a compass in the game. So I'm just kind of wandering around blindly looking for where I get the map that the game supposedly has now. And so I didn't really get much further than from when I picked up or from when I left off last time.
Gotcha.
Also, like, the combat in the game kind of sucks. Like,
so why are you trying to get back into it? What's the pull?
So I like everything else about the game.
Mm-hmm.
I like, first of all, I like those 3D platformer games. Those are a lot of fun for me. I really like the commitment to the old school look and feel. Like they've gone so far as to recreate the weird texture filtering that the N64 had. Which is why if you play a game on an N64 emulator, the textures don't line up quite right.
Right.
Because most of the emulators don't do that texture filtering the way the N64 did. They went to the trouble of doing it for this game. I really like that attention to detail.
For sure.
I like games with a lot of mobility. This is one of those games. It is a lot of not just platforming, but like chain jumping, platforming kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
I know that there's a wall run that you get later on in the game. I haven't gotten that far yet, but
it's a Persia style.
Yeah, I was going to say, there's a lot about it that I look at and I go, yeah, it's kind of Prince of Persia Sands of Time vibes, which I'm totally down with. I also like the main character's design. It's you know how a lot of games were doing like the mascot thing, like they saw the popularity of Sonic and they were like, oh, we'll do our, crazy kooky animal character, right? Well, this game doesn't really do that. The main character, she is an animal type thing, but she's kind of like, she's not like a real animal. She's like an imaginary animal that looks kind of like pieces of real animals. Like she kind of looks like a goat, but also like a rabbit, maybe even like a deer almost. She's got like antlers.
Sounds like a Biomutant. That game sucked.
And yeah, like she animates really cleanly. She also she manages to stand out despite the fact that she's predominantly gray, which is a really difficult thing to do. But I basically like everything else about this game. But playing it is kind of a chore, which I assume it'll probably get better once I unlock more abilities and the movement really opens up. But the beginning is rough, and I don't want to. It's unfair to compare a game to something like Mario 64, especially an independent game where it's made by a small team compared to something that was made with the full resources of Nintendo behind it. But if you're going for an N64 platformer throwback, you're going to get compared to Mario 64. Like that's going to be the standard that's set.
Standard bearer for sure.
And man, like I said, I'm sure that the gameplay picks up once you get more abilities, but you start Mario 64 with every ability, like with every maneuver that Mario has in that game. And it just feels so freeing and so liberating. And I can see areas where, like, oh yeah, I know I'm going to be able to get across there once I get the wall run, but which I mean is kind of Metroid-like, and I like Metroid, but Metroid's also really good about giving you a map.
Yeah.
Which, as I said, this game is. I'm almost wondering if I need to restart the game. Like
Maybe it doesn't
it's
apply it
to an old save. Like
yeah.
I'm probably gonna give that a shot because I haven't gotten very far in the game.
You can check the support forum as well. See if anyone else is having that issue.
Yeah, I can do that too. But anyway, it's I really like the idea of Pseudo Regalia, but so far my experience with it has been not as good as I'd like it to be. But like I said, I have seen footage of later gameplay, and that was what made me want to play it because it looked really good. So I guess it's just a matter of getting there.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, and what were you playing?
So I'm still playing Helldivers 2. I'm not going to spend any time talking about it.
Yeah, we talked about that a lot.
It's still Helldivers 2.
Yeah, there's a new update for that, isn't there?
Yeah, well, it's not out yet. It comes out on 2 days from this recording.
Oh, okay.
So, and they're teasing a new stratagem coming out, which is cool.
Yeah.
To launch with it. The one thing I will say about that game that is very strange is that I've only encountered one troll in the entire time I've played that game.
Yeah, you mentioned that the community was really good.
Crazy. It's so weird how certain games attract trolls, and then certain games attract just really cooperative people.
Oh yeah, we've got something to say about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. We got a story about that.
Yeah. I've also because of our not last episode, but the episode a couple episodes ago, been trying Elden Ring again.
Oh yeah.
Because I've tried several times to get back into it, and now that the expansion pack's out, I'm like, well, I like how I still call it an expansion pack instead of DLC.
I mean, it is an expansion. Like I think of DLC, and maybe this is just because the well got poisoned for me. I think of DLC as like costumes, like horse armor for Oblivion. I think of it as tiny little bits and pieces, and I think of an expansion pack as like, here's another quarter of the game to play.
To be fair, I think the actual name that they use is expansion DLC, so it's actually both.
Yeah,
in a way.
But
yeah,
semantics.
Yeah, so I'm trying to get back into it. I tried playing the Vagabond because I haven't played that yet, and online it told me to get the Twin Blade, so I did that, and I wasn't really feeling the Twin Blade, so I was just like, I'm gonna try a different class.
Oh, is that the one that's like the?
It's like a dual lightsaber.
Yeah, I was gonna say like the Darth Maul lightsaber. Yeah, those.
It's fine.
They are very specialized.
I just want a regular sword. That's all I wanted. And
yeah, if you know how to use them, they can be really devastating. But if you're not willing to commit 100% to it, a regular sword is a better bet.
So then I went up against that idea of playing a new class because I want to get to the DLC eventually if I can stomach it. So I went back to Astrologer, and I'm just magicking it up.
Yeah.
And I've
never done a mage build in those games. I have like the spells because you find them throughout the game, and I use them occasionally, but I've never mained magic.
It's heavily dependent on ashes.
Yeah.
Because if you don't have ashes to distract the bosses, for example,
you're in trouble.
You're so screwed. But the actual like going through the dungeons and like the smaller enemies, the non-boss enemies, it's easy mode for the game for all intents and purposes. As long as you do things right.
Yeah, that's the kind of thing where I'd want to have like different spells on different buttons, like the that R1 would be one spell and then R2 would be another instead of
having to swap through them. I get that. Yeah, I completely agree because I keep swapping to the wrong spell sometimes. I'm like,
the fact that you have to go through the list linearly instead of being able to like have a weapon wheel.
Just want to go back.
Yeah,
I agree, but I'm still having fun, and I finished. What's the southern main dungeon?
Stormvale.
No, that's the first one in Limgrave. Like the main the remembrance one is Stormvale. Oh, Castle Morn, is that it?
Oh yeah.
Castleborn. Yeah, I beat that one, and then I've gotten up to the boss of Stormvale Castle. I just haven't gone in yet.
Okay.
But I'm making good progress. We'll see if I get to the DLC. I'm kind of afraid of it.
Yeah.
But the new game that I actually played this week was Suicide Squad. Kill the Justice League.
Okay, so
I've been shitting on that game ever since they announced it. Being a live service game, and for about the first 45 minutes, I was eating my words.
Oh yeah.
I was like, the graphics are amazing. The banter between the characters is really fun. And then you hit this specific point where it's like, okay, now it's a live service game.
Yep.
Here's gear. Here's leveling. Here's itemized, randomized gear that you pick up and loot. And I'm like, okay, well,
it was fun while it lasted.
It was fun while it lasted.
Briefly.
I didn't care at that point. I'm like, I wouldn't buy that. The only reason I would ever buy that game is if I had someone to play with, because then I would just treat it like a looter shooter.
Yeah.
And if it was $10.
Yeah.
What a failure that game is. What I have no clue what was going through the publisher's head. I've been like, yeah, let's give Rocksteady, one of the top tier single player creators right now, a live service multiplayer.
Yeah,
game. It's stupid. It was so stupid.
Some stockholders saw like what, I don't know, something like Destiny was bringing in and said, "Oh, we want that." But
or Fortnite.
All of those have failed. Yeah, but look at it. We want that.
Yeah, exactly.
We own a controlling interest in your company, so do it.
Sony's doing the same thing.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, so, props to Rocksteady for making the best out of what they were told to do. But man, it must have sucked working there.
Yeah.
To make something that you. I'm sure they didn't want to make that.
Probably not.
I can't imagine they wanted to make that.
I mean, I honestly, a lot of the time, I'm not sure how people feel about making a licensed property in general. Like if it's something that they've sought out, sure.
Yeah, but I'm sure they love to make the Arkham games. They were labors of love. They were fantastic.
Yeah, but this is one of those situations where it's like they don't get to seek out; they get told to.
Yeah, that's exactly what it felt like,
and that's the point where you're like, "Oh God!"
Because the first 45 minutes of the game, or first 45 to an hour of the game, is like a single player Arkham game. It's very linear, and there's lots of storytelling, and you're learning new techniques and skills and all that kind of stuff. And then it opens up, and it's like, okay, here's 16 dots on the map.
Yeah.
Or rinse and repeat crap. Here's some loot that you get.
Yeah.
I'm so disappointed. But anyway, let's get to the games that you and I checked out.
Yep.
Which is Raft. Let's start with.
You want to start with Raft? Okay.
Yeah, it's the one that you've played already, and I've got a good idea on,
Right. So you were suggesting some games that we might play, and you brought up Raft, and I was like, oh yeah, I have that. It gets kind of repetitive, but sure, let's give it a try. And so I played that a few nights ago, and I already know all about Raft. Why don't you tell the people about your experience with it?
Yeah, so, I've played a crapload of crafting games before. Minecraft was obviously a big one that I played for a long time, and Valheim is kind of my favorite. But I'm always looking for that next one that's going to really, really hook me.
And this one has a gimmick.
Yeah. And I like it, but I do feel like it's restricting because of the concept of the Raft,
and you have to kind of reconcile that.
And I don't think that you get resources quick enough. I think they could have turned that up a little bit. Like I hook a piece of plastic and I get one plastic, like from this giant thing. I'm like, why couldn't I have got 5 from that? And then it would have picked up the pace, quicker.
It is definitely a slower paced game. There is definitely a lot more waiting around.
Yeah, and that's fine, but at least give me the option to switch that on. Like Valheim, you can play the game as intended, or you can change the drop rates of the resources to twice as much, or 3 times as much, or 4 times as much, to speed up the process of, not having to haul crap back constantly. And I kind of play at like a 2 times speed.
Yeah.
I don't need 4 times, because then it's just like you're swimming in resources at that point, and it's not even fun at that point, right?
Yeah.
You might as well do creative mode.
Yeah.
But yeah, that would be my only like nitpick about Raft, is that it's maybe too slow for me. I like the concept. I love the visuals. I love the mystique of the islands. I know I can picture this giant raft, with all the stuff that you can make.
Mm-hmm.
But there's just, I don't know.
It will speed up.
Yeah, all these games typically do, once you get like stuff to help you gather quicker and stuff like that. So it might pick up for me, but that's my like initial impression, is it's much slower than the games that I'm used to playing these type of games on. But it's cool though. I like it.
Yep. So the other one we played was Dungeonborne, which you brought up, and I said, "Oh, it's free to play. Sure, let's get that going," and we did. And our experience with that was mixed.
It was initially good.
It was,
for me, it was initially promising, because I always go into these types of games, especially when they first launch into early access, with like a very low bar.
Right.
It's free to play. B, it's early access. Free to play.
Right.
Don't expect,
don't expect anything. And I typically do that as well. But of course, my first experience with it was trying to find the menu where I get to configure my keybinds and find that, no, you don't get to configure your keybinds until you've done the tutorial.
Or the sensitivity, right?
Yeah, or even, I don't remember if the sensitivity was in there. I think it might have been one of the things that I didn't get to
you figured that out. Okay.
Yeah.
I knew that was a problem at first.
But yeah, I was like, why would you gate a basic function like key configuration,
even in early access? There's no reason
behind the tutorial, and it's implemented in the game. You get access to it once you do the tutorial, so why not just give it to you right from the get-go? If the tutorial is to teach you about the controls, shouldn't the player be able to set up the controls the way they'd like them before doing the tutorial that teaches them about it? It's completely nonsensical. But anyway, I did that, and we started playing, and
the tutorial's not good.
The tutorial's not very good. I nearly died during the tutorial. I was like, seriously?
And it really doesn't explain what the game is either.
No.
Like you and I went in thinking it's a dungeon crawler.
Yeah.
But it's actually
a treasure hunt.
It's a PvEVP extraction dungeon crawler.
Yeah. So we played 2 games. Well, I played one on my own just to get a handle for the character class, because that's the other thing, is they
don't explain them enough.
Yeah, you do the tutorial and then they say, "Oh, pick a character class." Like, "Oh, couldn't I have like gotten to
test them
out first or something?"
Yeah,
or
agreed. Yeah, I was like, "Oh, there's classes? Okay."
Yeah.
So basically this tutorial was just for one class.
Yeah, the tutorial was for the controls that I couldn't set up for the class that I ultimately didn't choose. So great.
Yeah.
So I played around on my own, and then we played around together, and things went pretty well until the end, which was admittedly my fault. So
yeah.
There were so the way that you do this game is you go to a location and you look for treasure. You look in chests, you look in boxes and barrels and things that you break open. You're pretty standard action RPG stuff. You break stuff, find treasure, open chests, get treasure, just treasure, right? And you also fight monsters. And okay. It's first person. It's much slower paced.
Very slow. Yeah.
There's a real sense of weight to the weapon swings, which I don't hate. I didn't realize it was going to be like that going in.
Me either. Yeah.
But because they kind of, I feel like they kind of sped things up in the trailer, maybe just to kind of fit more in there.
Or maybe it's like later on when you're like higher level.
Yeah, maybe later on you get faster. Yeah. And I will say, when I did get that second sword and started dual wielding, that was fast. That went way faster than using the two-handed sword.
But you simultaneously got that when
Right.
we figured out what the actual game was.
Yeah, we'll get to that. So you go in, you have about 15 minutes to smash and grab everything you can, and then you got to get out.
Yep.
So here's where the problem started. Number one, the portals that you exit with are single use.
Yeah.
I did not realize that, and I took the portal thinking you would follow right behind me. Suddenly, I go into spectator mode, and the portal's gone, and I go, "Oh shit!"
No, I gotta find one. I know. As soon as you were gone, I was like, "Oh, it's one person only." Now I got, which is stupid because it's a team based game.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, I'm gonna take this one. You go look for another
I can
one.
kind of see why they did that, but then there's the other thing, which is the time limit. Now,
Yeah.
admittedly, both of these problems probably my fault because in my rush to try and figure out how to get my controls set up, I just skipped past all the pop-ups and dialogue boxes and everything, where the game was presumably telling me how it's played, because I was frantically trying to find out how do I set up the controls, the basic thing that you can't do until the tutorial is done.
Yeah.
So I may very well have missed them telling me about this. I assumed that the time limit was not an instant kill.
Yeah, me too.
I figured it was going to be like a battle royale game where, once the border, the radius starts to close in on you,
you start taking damage and
it
stuff.
doesn't kill you.
Yeah.
It starts ticking down your health. Like
I thought it was going to be like Helldivers, where if you go beyond the time limit,
they start spawning things in.
Yeah,
that was the other thing that I thought might be the possibility.
Monsters galore, and
is that they would swarm in monsters or spawn like some kind of super demon or something.
Yep.
I figured it would be. I figured the time limit was an encouragement to speed along, not a hard deadline. But it is in fact a hard deadline, and you fucking died because we waited until like the last 60 seconds. And then you were frantically trying to find a portal after I accidentally ditched you.
I guess the idea is look for the portals first,
and
so that
then
you know where they are,
plan where you're going to go,
and then branch out as far as you can from there. Which I don't know if I like that or not. I almost wish there was just one extraction point.
Yeah,
and you had to make it to there in time.
Yeah, maybe they start putting up obstacles in the way.
Yeah.
On your way back, like maybe once the time limit is passed, they start spawning obstacles to.
Or you call in extraction, and it takes like 2 minutes for the portal to get up there.
There's any number of things that they could have done that I think probably would have been better than what they're doing. And it is early access, so it might change. This is the time in which they would, sort of
swap
adjust
stuff like that.
Yep. Yeah. What's weird is that there's no text chat during gameplay.
Yeah, that's bogus. I couldn't believe that. I'm like, you have text chat in the lobby,
right?
And then you get into the game. It's a PC game,
and there is voice chat, of course, but that doesn't take into account like what if somebody is deaf.
Oh, and the voice chat for us didn't even work anyway.
Yeah,
I tried to get it to work. I used the push to talk. Nothing. It just didn't work.
It would not work. I didn't know what was going on.
No, we had to basically communicate. I was trying to communicate with a ping.
Yeah,
they do have a ping system in the game, so I was like,
which is great.
I'll use that.
But
what's the ultimate problem, though?
The ultimate problem, and this is what we ran into in our second sortie, our second deployment, was that we did not know was that the game was enforced PvP. So we went in, and I was like, let me see if I can find two swords, because apparently the class that I was playing can apparently dual wield. And I did, and I was having a blast for about 15 seconds. And then we opened a door, and we were promptly annihilated. Everything started spilling into the room, and I didn't even realize until after the fact that it was players.
Yeah, it was a combination of 3 players and whatever was in the room that was following them, and they were so highly geared that
they just tore through us.
Yeah, they just tore through. Like the enemies weren't doing anything to them. Yeah, it was, and that's when I was like, oh, it's one of these games.
And we couldn't find any way to password protect or PvE only our match. It was just
it's the way the game's designed.
It's the way the game's designed, which,
and we would have figured that out on the first try, but we never actually met the players that we were in the match with.
Yeah.
And it makes sense in hindsight, because when you enter the match, I'm calling it a match now, but what we thought was just a mission,
yeah,
or a quest, whatever you want to call it. It has matchmaking, matchmaking. You're in queue, and like a timer for how long you've been waiting in the queue. And I'm like, I guess that's just waiting for like a server to be picked to host us on, I guess.
Yeah.
But now in hindsight, I'm like, oh, it's actually
connecting us with other players.
Another player, another set of two
and
people.
If we could make that just PvE, matchmaking with other people could be fun. Like, because it's just the two of us, we could,
Yeah.
quest with other people. But enforcing that, like, I understand and I respect, you have a vision for your game and you want to do that, but that's not what we're into. Like, maybe later once we get good at the game, but I mean, we were matched against people who totally outclassed us in terms of gear, so there doesn't seem to be any kind of enforced balanced, like, or skill-based matchmaking or anything like that. We were just completely flattened before we realized what was happening.
Yeah.
So
at the moment,
Dungeonborne
gets the thumbs down. At the
moment. We ended that one on a sour note, which was unfortunate, because I was kind of digging the look of it.
Yeah, I thought it felt good.
Yeah,
and the idea of it was cool. It was a little rough around the edges, but it's early access.
Sure.
But
it reminded me kind of Kingsfield, which is, I've mentioned, the precursor to Dark Souls and Demon Souls, which is also a first-person dungeon crawler game and has a sort of a slower step forward and hit and then step back to dodge kind of combat that we were figuring out was the way to do.
Almost Skyrim-like in its combat.
Yeah, but way slower.
Yeah, 100%.
So I'm going to keep an eye on that and see how it goes. But our experience with it was not incredible.
Yeah, I mean, if they announce that you can have a private game where you don't have to face off against other players, I'd be interested in playing.
Sure, absolutely.
But if it's forced PvP and that's just the way the game is, then
it's not for us. It's not necessarily bad. It's just not for us.
No, it's not necessarily bad. It's just that's not. I'm not into PvP anymore. It's just occasionally
it can be fun, but I have to know that I'm getting into PvP.
Yeah, and that's not a game I would want to get into PvP for. Because it's slow, and like you want to be methodical and strategic about how you take each.
And that's more fun with a cooperative thing, because it was like you were playing a mage, and I was playing a melee character, and I was getting the guys on the ground, and when we had like flying enemies, you were shooting fireballs at them because I couldn't reach them.
Yep.
And you even discovered, I didn't even realize this until you told me, that there's friendly fire, and your fireballs were hitting me and doing damage. I thought I was just getting hit by the flying thing. So
it was my like flame beam. You walked in front of it, and I saw the damage numbers go up.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh,
so
shoot.
It's definitely a game that requires communication. So working voice chat would be nice.
Working voice chat.
I mean, we could do the Steam voice chat, but if the game has it built in, you'd expect it to work there.
Agreed.
And sort of slowly, like you said, methodically planning out what you're going to do, almost like a heist.
I was going to say almost like Rainbow Six, old school Rainbow Six, where you're like, okay, what's in this room?
That to me is way more appealing as a cooperative player versus enemy game rather than a competitive one. Absolutely. And so I do hope that they put in just a PvE mode, because I could get into that. I could really sink some time into a game like that. Absolutely. But if it's going to be enforced PvP all the time, that's just not what we're looking for.
No. Yeah, I'll play the occasional PvP game. But
sure.
It's like a jump in, jump out. It's not something I dedicate my time to, because
The people who do PvP do a lot of PvP, and they get really good at it. And it's hard to it's hard to jump into something. It's hard to do PvP casually because most people who do it are kind of hardcore about it.
Yep. Yeah, they haven't figured out a matchmaking system that is able to divide people properly. In my opinion.
Skill-based matchmaking is about the closest they've got, but for very casual competitive players like us, it still doesn't quite work.
No, definitely does not. All right, let's move into unless you had any other games you wanted to talk about before we get into the next section.
Nope. Although I will say, time codes. Yep. Write down the time code. All right.
Remind me every time we move. Just to show I have it in the system. I have to press enter.
I didn't even need to have the file open and with time codes in big bold letters. I just remembered this time. Yeah. So yes, news. You told me I didn't need to bring.
We're gonna go trailers first.
Oh, trailers!
We have a crap load today.
Right, trailers.
So so let's kick things off with the trailer that I'm least interested in, but still thought it So for those who are first listening to the show, the trailer section is basically where we see a trailer that comes out for either a new game or a new game we haven't seen before that piques our interest in some way or looks noteworthy in some way. Otherwise, we'd have 30 trailers every week, and I don't.
Yeah, and you sent me a bunch. You sent me like 6.
Yeah, normally we only have like 1 to 3. So this was a big week, and I think it was because there was a convention of some kind recently.
Gen Con is happening right now, I believe.
Yeah, Gen Con, and there was a THQ Nordic stream as well, and something else. So anyway, the first game was Dungeons and Kingdoms,
which is a mobile ass looking game if I've ever seen one.
The visual style is very odd.
I don't dislike it, but that name is like
the name is terrible.
The name is like, what if we made a mobile game called Mines and Crafting? It's got that energy.
And there's a reason that it has a crappy name, and that is because every game in this genre has a terrible name.
Yeah, they're all taken.
Yeah, they're all taken, right? So it's like we got to just be generic at tell them what this is what our game is. It's Dungeons and Kingdoms.
Yeah,
so it's a third person / city colony sim.
Yeah,
kind of game.
Like you build up a settlement and then you adventure for the benefit of that settlement. It looks like.
Yeah, it looks so. Okay, here's my thing with this. This is the reason I brought this up.
Yeah,
I see game trailers like this 20 times a year, probably something like that. And they never nail it.
No.
The closest game that I can say has nailed you're an adventurer who is also building a town with people in it is Medieval Dynasty.
Okay, which is another generic ass name.
Another generic name, right? And it's okay.
Yeah.
The problem with that game is it's lacking personality. It's very dry.
Yeah.
This has a little bit more personality, so I'm hoping that we get something good out of it. But I always keep my eyes on these types of games because I'm like,
it's got a very like RuneScape kind of look to it, almost.
Yeah.
I kind of dig it.
Yeah, I'm it was noteworthy. I looked at it and I was like, you know what? This doesn't look terrible at all. This looks
everything's
like
got this kind of flat color, pseudo like. Kind of realistic, but still very flat colored. Not quite cell shaded, but sort of like halfway.
Yeah.
Between, I don't know. I kind of dig it, but it looks, or at least it sounds generic as hell. But I mean, if it works, it works. Yeah. That'll be good.
Yeah, this was the reveal trailer, so lots left to see.
Sure.
But it's another one of those games I have to keep my eye on because I'm always keeping my eye on this genre.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I'm waiting for that big one. You know what I mean? There still hasn't been like this is the kingpin of this genre. You know? There's been contenders, but none of them are just knocking it out of the park. So I'm waiting for that one. Whether this one is or not, I don't know, but it's a contender.
The comments on this YouTube video, because you linked me to the trailer, is on IGN's YouTube channel. And the comments to this are solid gold. Like there's somebody here saying, imagine if there were dungeons, but also dragons. And I'm like, yeah,
and
that's
kingdoms.
and a bunch of people here are bringing up RuneScape as well. So
there you go.
Clearly, we're not the only people. There's like 5 comments I've scrolled
There's
like
some clear
on screen.
inspiration.
Yeah,
Yeah.
5 comments on screen that all mention RuneScape. So
yeah, when I had initially seen it, I was like, "Oh, this is Valheim, but with a colony sim attached to it.
yeah.
That could be really cool because I'm a huge Valheim fan." So we'll see how that works out. The next one was Mirthwood,
which looked kind of similar, but also depressed and artsy.
Yeah, it's very, very. It seems I could be wrong, so don't cutthroat me for this if I'm
I
wrong.
apologize to all the people hearing me click my mouse, but it happens that my mouse is really close to my microphone, and I'm clicking through the video.
The trailers to skim through them.
Yeah,
that's okay.
Oh, I should have. Damn it! I should have hooked up my tablet and just used the pen to tap because that's much quieter.
That's okay.
Well, maybe
it's
next
not loud.
time.
Again, don't quote me on this. I could be wrong, but based on the visual style, I would not be shocked if this game was from the same developers as Wildermyth.
I don't know what that is. I've never heard of that.
So Wildermyth is like a randomly generated D&D tactical turn-based combat game where every decision you make changes your character and changes the story and the combats that come about. It's really good.
I am looking at the trailer right now.
Yeah.
And I'm just gonna mouse through this. Okay, I see what you mean. It's got sort of the paper cutout.
Yeah, very similar art style. So it wouldn't shock me if it's by the same people, but I didn't look into it to find out if it was. But it seems cool. So it's like it's like Harvest Moon dark version. Almost
super dark version. It opens with a funeral.
Yeah, it's pretty dark, but looks interesting. I thought it looked cool.
Maybe. I mean, the thing is putting that right after Dungeons and Kingdoms. It kind of looks like the same thing, just depressed. So
yeah.
It didn't really strike me right after seeing that.
No, it is a different viewpoint though. It's not third person and a colony. It's more of a colony sim. It kind of gave me what was that? What's that popular colony sim that everyone plays that mimics the art style from RimWorld? Almost like a RimWorld kind of vibe to it. Just with a much more unique art style, I think. But I'm gonna keep my eyes on that one.
Yeah, and the next one doesn't even have a name. It's just unannounced Tarsier Studios title, which has a big gross pig.
Yeah, so this is the Little Nightmares studio.
Yeah.
So they have moved on from Little Nightmares.
That's the one with the kid in like the raincoat, right?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. And then the second one's with he's got a bag on his head.
Yeah.
I love those games. Those games are fantastic. And this looks like a spiritual sequel to those. I don't know what happened. They must have had a falling out with whoever owns the Little Nightmares IP, because for them to go like this is like kind of like giving the middle finger to the people who are continuing to make Little Nightmares. There is a Little Nightmares 3 coming. So I feel like there's some.
So the name went one way and the developers went the other.
Exactly.
You know, it's funny you bring up Harvest Moon because that's exactly what happened with that franchise.
Story of Seasons, right?
Yeah. The company that owns the international rights to the name Harvest Moon then went on, made their own farming game under the Harvest Moon brand, but it has nothing to do with the original developers of the game, who now have to call it Story of Seasons. It's really scumbaggy.
And they're not even good games anymore, honestly.
No, well, the originals are great because you have a team that made a game that they wanted, and the Natsume ones, the air quotes Harvest Moon games, are made by people who are trying to continue cashing in on the name because it's the longest running franchise they've had. So it's a brand.
I don't know why anyone makes farming games anymore. Nobody is going to ever beat Stardew Valley. They're just not.
Yeah.
Like, how are you supposed to beat that game? That game is insane. It's like a 200-hour game full of content that you could play multiple times. It's huge.
I kind of felt that way about Harvest Moon: Friends of Mineral Town on the GBA. That game has a lot in it. Yeah.
Have you played Stardew Valley?
No.
You should play it, man. It's real good. It's got dungeon crawling in it.
Well, that's the thing, is that I kind of burnt out on farming games on the Harvest Moon games, because I played the Harvest Moon games since the very first one. I have my Super Nintendo copy sitting on my coffee table.
You know what? If you ever feel like playing Stardew Valley, it is co-op now.
Yes, it is.
I'm just saying.
I'll keep that in mind. I'll keep that in mind.
All right. So yeah, we don't know what the title of this Little Nightmares spiritual sequel is, but
we just know that it's got a stuck pig with its guts spilling out.
Yeah. Look very, very Little Nightmares-ish.
Big gross pig game. Whatever.
The next one was the only reason I actually put it, because I did play the original Wreckfest.
Wreckfest 2 is what we're talking about now.
Yeah, Wreckfest 2 is what we're talking about. But the original Wreckfest is actually pretty good. But the reason I actually put this here is because the trailer is hilarious. It's a great trailer. It keeps cutting between this
this
interview
guy getting
like a
emotional about his car,
about his car,
and then the hell that he puts it through.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's really clever. I liked it a lot.
Yeah,
I'm sure the game will be great too, because Wreckfest 1 was very good.
Yeah, I've actually never heard of Wreckfest 1. In fact, in my brain, when I saw this, I was like, wait, Wreckless, the Yakuza missions from the original Xbox? That terrible piece of crap? No, this is Wreckfest.
Well, let me make sure. Yeah, Wreckfest Drive Hard Die Last was the
I've never played that.
Do you remember? Oh crap! What was Flat Out?
So that was the other one I was thinking of, and I couldn't fucking remember the name of. I played that game.
You fling the dude out of the...
Man, I played that game once, and I was like, oh, I hope this is really good. And then I was like, oh, this doesn't feel
So Wreckfest is Flat Out, but without sending your dude through the air.
It's like a fucking...
It's like a destruction derby.
What was that? What was that mode in Burnout 3 called?
Oh, crash mode? Or
just crash mode or whatever.
Yeah. Except Wreckfest is it's more about the racing. It's racing and it's destruction derby, and stuff like that. The big draw of that game for me, at least, was the visuals and the audio are very good. The dirt physics and it's really good. But it's also pretty realistic. It's not very arcadey.
Okay, so we're not looking at a Carmageddon 2 situation or something.
No, this one might be. Maybe they're taking it in that direction based on the trailer.
Maybe. But who knows?
Because the first one must have done well enough to get the sequel,
I guess.
But maybe they saw that it was taking itself too seriously, and they need to go a little bit more arcade style. We'll see.
Who knows?
A game like that with Burnout's destruction, car destruction, would be really cool. So
yeah.
The next one was a Titan Quest 2.
Yeah.
So this is a Diablo type game.
Yeah, so on that subject, I've never really gotten into the Diablo-like genre. I did play...
But you like Diablo, though?
Oh, I love Diablo. Love Diablo 1, 2, and 3.
Okay.
But I played...
I didn't hear you say 4.
Yeah, you didn't hear me say 4. There's a reason for that.
Yeah.
What was... I'm trying to... Shit. What was the one with the dog?
Oh, you're thinking of Torchlight.
Yes, Torchlight. I had it on the tip of my tongue, and then you brought up Diablo 4, and I got angry.
Yeah.
I played Torchlight 2 with a friend, and man, I could not get into it. And I really tried, but I just bounced off of that game. And they can hire the guy who did the music for Diablo all they want. It's not Diablo. It just isn't.
I was thinking here. Torchlight 1, I really liked.
Yeah.
And then I didn't like 2.
Oh, did I get a bad one?
No, it's good for the people that like it.
Yeah.
The thing about, and I've played Torchlight 3, and now they're making a 4th one.
Oh yeah, there is a 3rd one, isn't there?
Yeah, the 3rd one is probably the dud. It feels unfinished when I was playing it. I'm like, ooh, it's kind of messy.
Yeah.
But the thing that I every time I play those games, and I've never beaten them, I usually play them for a few hours, and then I'm like, what ends up coming to mind is, I could play this, or I could play Diablo.
Yeah, I mean,
that's better.
Because that's the thing, is that Diablo 3 has so much fucking content.
That is a 10 out of 10 masterpiece game.
I could play that game fucking forever.
Me too. I've probably sunk 300, 400 hours into that.
I'm probably up around 200, and that's just on the Switch version.
Oh,
you and I played together on your PS4 right when the game came out.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Which was like 10 years ago. And then I played with another friend on his Xbox, and I'm pretty sure. Well, I know that he and we beat the main game and we beat the expansion. I think you and I beat the main game. I don't remember. It's been so long, but yeah, like
you and I probably beat Diablo 2.
Oh, sure. Like easily at least 200 hours on Diablo 3, if not approaching 300. And then if you throw in the time that I spent playing Diablo 1 and Diablo 2, fuck. So much time. That might very well be a contender for like franchise I've spent the most time with outside of like Final Fantasy or something.
Yep.
It's been a lot. There's been a lot of Diablo in my life.
Yeah, Diablo
but none of it ends with a 4. None of it ends with a 4 ever.
Yeah, no. I
cannot imagine giving Blizzard my money with the way they are now.
I've ranted about 4 probably almost every episode.
4 all that needs to be said about 4, I think, has been said.
Yeah. I don't know how it's.
And we haven't even brought up Diablo Immortal.
Oh, don't even get me started on that. Garbage.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know.
The thing that sucks, and not to get on a tangent here, but the thing that sucks about that is I could actually see like a mobile Diablo not being a bad idea, but then when
it's not terrible. I'm not going to shit on Immortal, but it's like
you make it the way it was, which is microtransaction-y and stuff. It's like
it just didn't need to exist. Yeah, I think that's the thing, right?
They probably could have just put Diablo 3 on mobile, and it would. I mean,
it really was. It really is just Diablo 3 with like
microtransactions.
Yeah, and like a remixed set of skills and stuff, and simplified controls. Like it's like
right. So we haven't even talked about Titan Quest. We've just been talking about Diablo.
I don't have much.
The problem is that I'd rather be playing Diablo.
Yeah, and I'm kind of the same way. I don't have a lot to say about it besides I hope that it can compete with Diablo. Same thing,
dude. If I had an alternative, I'd be so happy about that.
Yeah. I'm rooting for this one.
Yeah,
I'm rooting for Path of Exile 2, because Path of Exile 1 didn't capture me whatsoever.
Yeah.
And there was a game that was coming out on Steam that I was rooting for that apparently hasn't done very well. Superfused, I think it was called.
I don't even know that one.
The concept was really cool. So it was a Diablo-like, but you could like merge classes together, and it would create like hybrids. But it wasn't just like you're half mage, half warrior.
It was like its own thing.
It would cause new skills to develop and like new moves and different ways to play.
That sounds neat.
But it's on Steam. I think it's in early access. It's got a mixed review score though.
Well, yeah.
So it doesn't sound like it's doing very well.
But I mean, early access.
The idea of it is very cool though.
It could change.
Oh yeah, it could change for sure.
Hopefully it turns around.
Let me actually check it. I haven't checked it in a while.
I'll have to take a look at that too. You said it was Superfuse?
Yeah, I think that's what it's called. Superfused. I'm trying to look. I'm trying to get Steam to load.
Yeah, Superfuse on Steam.
Superfuse, right?
Yeah. That sounds right. Okay. Yeah. I see. Oh yeah, there's like a DNA thing here.
And yeah.
Okay.
Is it still mixed review?
Yes, it is still mixed.
I don't know how long it's been out, but it had really like IGN.
It says here January 31st of last year, so it's been in early access for a little while at this point.
January 31st. Oh yeah, so like about a year and a half. Yeesh.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and it's got a really cool art style. It's like very comic booky.
Yeah.
So it had a lot going for it, and the reason that I was keeping an eye on it was because IGN and several other media websites did like a preview for it, and they were like really hot on it.
Oh yeah.
And then it just fell off their radar, and they never talked about it again. Huh. So
yeah, I'm looking at this, and I'm like, yeah, I could probably get into this.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens with Titan Quest and Super
which we still have not talked about.
There's honestly not much to talk about. Yeah, it looks like Diablo.
It looks like Diablo. It's if you've played Diablo, you know what to look for.
I guess it's a sequel to like a really old game called
Titan
Quest.
I've heard the name Titan Quest before, but I've never played it.
Yeah. Let's see. Is it on Steam? Let's see. Titan Quest Anniversary Edition. There it is. Oh yeah. Yeah, that looks well. The anniversary edition came out in 2016.
Oh, so okay.
So the
So this
original
is like
was
a
pretty old.
THQ property that they're bringing back as THQ Nordic, I guess.
Well, it looks like the anniversary edition was THQ Nordic as well.
Oh,
So I
okay.
don't know how far back the original goes, but yeah,
Yeah, who knows?
we'll see. That the anniversary edition of Titan Quest has a very positive score. So
Oh, that's good.
Titan Quest 2 maybe might be good. And then finally, the last trailer on our list here. It's not even really worth.
Prophetic, I have to say, because you have brought up this game as an example of what we don't have anymore, and immediately they announce
Double A, yeah.
We're bringing back Darksiders.
Yeah. So it was it was a really short teaser that just referenced Darksiders.
And not even a minute long.
We don't even know if it's Darksiders 4 or if it's like another spin-off or if they're rebooting Darksiders. No clue.
No idea.
But I played Darksiders 1, 2, and 3. Loved all three of them. I think 2 is probably the best one. And 2 is like it's Zelda.
Yep.
It's Zelda. It's so good. So yeah, I'm excited to see what they can do. It is an Embracer Group developer, unfortunately, but they did make 3.
Yep.
And 3 was pretty good.
I mean, they employ talented people, even if they are a fucking gelatinous cube trying to absorb everything.
Yeah. One day we will do a topic of the week on Embracer because there's a lot to talk about there. All right.
Man, we are nearly an hour into this, and we haven't even talked about the news yet.
I know. I'm trying to speed us along as much as I can. But there's a lot to talk about. All right, so let's get into the news. You said you had a piece of it, one piece of news. So
yes,
take it off.
So, romhacking.net is shutting down, sort of. The forums are apparently staying online, and the downloads are staying online for the time being, but they are no longer accepting new hacks, which is kind of an issue for anybody who's got a work in progress hack. So this would be things like translations of games into other languages, like unofficial fan translations, or just graphical hacks, or any kind of ROM hack you could imagine. This was one of the big places for it.
Did they say why they're shutting down?
I will get to that.
Okay.
They have also apparently handed over a complete archive of the site to the Internet Archive, so it doesn't seem like there is any immediate danger of all of those hacks going away, but it does mean that people will now have to look for somewhere else to host them, which to me is nightmarish because it means that people are going to go to Discord, and then now if you want to get a ROM hack, you're going to have to find the admin and say, hey, can I get an invite to your Discord just so I can download this one file and then never engage with your community again? I hope it doesn't go that way, but that seems to be the way this kind of stuff
goes.
There's
no other major website for that kind of stuff?
Nothing that was at the size and scale of romhacking.net.
Maybe someone will take their place?
Well, we're getting to that. So,
oh, snap.
So there have been conflicting statements released about this.
Okay.
One side, the webmaster, the owner of the site, claims that there was a plot within the site's other staff to basically steal the site out from under them. I'm not going to read the whole thing. There's a lot. It's very easy to find, so I'm just going to try and summarize it. But they also alleged that they had been doxxed and that their personal information was being put out there, and so they just decided to wipe their hands clean of the situation. On the other side, a person, a longtime member of the site who is, I guess, involved with some of the moderation, said that is not what happened. Instead, the owner of the site basically was largely unavailable, very difficult to get in touch with, which made, I guess, moderation difficult, and also that the site's backend, like the software that serves up the data to what users who come to the website. There's the front end, which is the website you see, and then there's the back end, which handles all the download management for, basically trying to not crash the server that it's all hosted on. Apparently, the back end was really outdated and terribly inefficient, and it was actually costing them money, like more money than it should, to run the site because of how inefficient it was compared to more modern solutions for them. And they reject the allegation of doxing. So I don't know who to believe here. I don't really.
Clearly, there was some behind the scenes disagreement.
There is
either way.
Definitely a clash in the administration of that website. But as to who is telling the truth, or to what degree either of these stories are accurate, I have no idea. I don't personally know any of these people. I don't really know the community or the politics of romhacking.net. I've been there before to look up some stuff, because I like ROMs, and I like translations of weird games that we never got here.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of stuff. But I've never been into the sort of inside baseball of the website and its community. It's purely been a resource for me. Gotcha. So I can't speak to who's more credible here. I think we're just going to have to wait and see what comes out. Right now, it's just a bunch of, someone's word against someone else's.
Right.
But it's a really good case study of, like, don't get me wrong. It sucks that this community is. I guess like I said, the forums aren't shutting down, so the quote unquote community isn't going away. But with no future uploads to the site, I don't think the community is likely to hang around there very long. No point in continuing to converse on this site if everybody starts hosting them elsewhere. Makes more sense to go to that site's forums, right? So it remains to be seen how long that community lasts. But either way, it sucks that this is now a thing that is dying. But it's also a really good case study in why you shouldn't put all your eggs in one basket. I saw, and I actually retweeted someone on Twitter who pointed out that this is the ROM hacking equivalent if Nexus mods were to suddenly stop accepting new submissions. And Nexus mods is another site that I look at and I go, this is a terrible idea. If your community has a single pillar in it and that pillar collapses, your community falls apart, and suddenly you've got to scramble to replace it with something. Again, I don't advocate everybody having their own little Discord server just to host a file that 90% of people are never ever going to engage with the community in, but there's got to be a middle ground between everybody having a Discord and there being like basically one site on the entire web for this. There's got to be something else. There's got to be a better way to do it.
Yeah, is it Curse? Curse is another one that does a lot of like.
There's a few of these places.
Yeah.
I don't know all of them.
Yeah.
But romhacking.net is like the big one.
Interesting. Yeah, there's a lot of turmoil in general in the gaming industry right now with like places closing and people not keeping up with the times. And
is that a lead into Game Informer?
It could be.
Because we might as well go there next if we're talking about things shutting down.
For sure. Yeah. So Game Informer, after 33 years, has been told by GameStop that it will be closing immediately, that they're all laid off, and they will begin receiving their severance terms.
Yeah, which, like, that is now this is, kind of part of the issue. Was Game Informer even still a magazine, or was it just a website? Oh, so
they were still a magazine.
They were still publishing. Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
If you go into like GameStop, they would always have a Game Informer sitting on the shelf.
Okay, because like I haven't read a gaming magazine in a long time.
So I love magazines. I love collecting them, and I did for a long time.
They're fun to look at. You've seen my collection of Nintendo Power.
Yeah. I collected Nintendo Power. I have Game Players magazines.
I have one of your Game Players magazine that you gave me many years ago. It's got Battle Arena Toshinden on the cover.
Yep. Keep that intact, man.
Yeah.
Preserve our gaming history.
Yeah, absolutely. It's also got the Sega Neptune and Star Fox 2 on the cover. So
Star Fox 2. Damn.
So, two things that never, well, I guess Star Fox 2 eventually came out, but two things that never properly came out back in the day.
Yeah, so once EGM folded, and what was the other one? I mean, Nintendo Power folded.
EGM felt like the big one.
Yeah, I think EGM was the big one over here. But once they folded, I was like, man, I still want a magazine. Like, I get my news and everything from IGN, but I really like the magazines for the reader mail, and I really like them for the reviews. Because I just like getting varying opinions. I don't like getting all my opinions from one place.
The magazine format, and this, I guess, is, leads into a broader discussion about the place of magazines in the technology world, which is now moving much faster than the magazines publish, and has been for quite a while.
Oh yeah, for sure.
It's like, well, what do you do with that exactly? Magazines, they're good for certain types of content. Up to date with like the latest news is not one of them. One of the good things about Nintendo Power is because
previews, they're out of date.
Is because Nintendo Power was put out by Nintendo, at least for most of its existence, and was always the official Nintendo magazine. They got a lot of exclusive stuff. So if you wanted to see 20 hot new screenshots of Zelda 64, that was the place to go. But man, with the web, with websites like IGN and all the others that are out there, it feels kind of dated. And I'm honestly I didn't even know that they were still doing a magazine. I thought maybe it was just a website now.
Yeah. Funny you mention IGN. I have something funny to tell you about.
Sure.
But before I get to that, after EGM collapsed and there really wasn't like a good gaming magazine anymore, I actually went to great lengths to get a gaming magazine, and I actually subscribed to Games Magazine, which is no longer with us. But it was a UK magazine, and honestly, it's the best gaming magazine I've ever subscribed
to. Oh yeah,
it's huge.
Okay.
It's like a wish book.
Oh,
every
really?
time you get it, like maybe not that big, but it's huge. It's a really big.
Some of them were pretty girthy. Sure, show it to me. Pull it out of that Jenga stack.
This one's one of the smaller ones, but it's
beefy. Yeah, that's beefy, man.
Yeah. And it's not mostly advertising. It's basically all content. Like unlike EGM, which was like 50% advertising.
Yeah, towards the end there. Yeah,
like they had really cool articles. You won't be able to read it because it's mirrored, but
but that'll be Metro. I can tell from the artwork.
Yeah, this was a Metro. I think is it Exodus or Last Light? I think it's Last Light. But yeah, this magazine was fantastic. Looks like they have Battlefield 1, I think, is on the cover.
Yeah,
but it was a great magazine, and then it went away. But then the publisher got hit by a lot of people complaining that they no longer had a game magazine.
Yeah.
So then they made Edge magazine, which I will show you.
Oh yeah. This is great for people who are just listening to audio.
Yeah, sorry for the audio listeners. So then Edge magazine comes along, and holy crap, these things are like art books. Look at this cover.
Oh my god. Yeah.
Like it's like a freaking graphic novel.
Yeah.
It's amazing. And it even like the feel of it is
the paper stock looks premium.
Yeah. Oh, it's amazing. Like it's even got like look at the
embossed lettering and
this covers for the metallic. Ascent.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that isometric cyberpunk game.
Diablo shooter kind of
thing. Yeah.
Yeah, Edge magazine was amazing too, but now they've gone. I think they've gone out as well. Let me see. Edge Gaming Magazine. I stopped subscribing though because it's expensive to import it from.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I think it's like $200 a year.
Jesus Christ!
So it's not cheap.
Yeah.
Oh, they're still going.
Okay.
If I could afford to order them, I'd still be ordering them. They're amazing magazines.
Yeah.
But the funny one I want to show you that I've kept all these years.
Oh yeah, let's go. Please be one of the Game Pro April Fool's articles.
Nope, you're going to be like, what? This exists?
All right. Let's see it. Oh, what? This exists?
IGN. What? IGN had their own magazine.
Why?
I know.
Now that is double dipping if I've ever seen it.
Yeah, see, there's their old logo.
Yeah, that's from a while ago.
Yeah, this was the first magazine. This was issue 1, volume 1 from 2001.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
I don't even know if they made a second volume. I think they released it and it didn't do well, so they
Really?
just didn't.
A
I don't think they
website
continued.
that is a website where you get your article on the
Yeah,
web?
I don't know why they did this,
People
but
didn't want to wait a month for outdated information and
look
pay for the
at the
privilege?
back cover. Love it.
Oh, now that is a time capsule. Oh
Yeah,
man.
I think one day we'll just have a topic of the week where I just grab a random magazine and we'll just go through
Once I get a webcam set up, man.
Yeah, very, very, very cool stuff on that shelf.
Yeah, so here's my big problem with magazines though. You can't control F a magazine. And if I'm trying to like and this is a thing that I've had to do. Like if I'm trying to find like something from a particular issue of Nintendo Power, I got to look it up on the web to find out which volume it is and then pull it off my shelf.
Yeah,
You can't control F a magazine. I mean obviously it's a magazine so you can't really hold that against it. But that's why game FAQs is such a big thing. That's why these fan wikis are such a big thing. It's just so much faster.
Yep.
So it raises
We've traded art and quality for
convenience.
Yeah.
And the thing is like I would love to say, as a graphic designer, I have a lot of respect for the work that goes into a magazine.
Oh yeah.
There's a tremendous amount of work that goes into just the formatting of a page. And I won't bore the audience with that, but when I'm playing a game and I'm stuck on a section, I just want to know where to go next,
It's
Like
easier to just look it up.
I love the
online.
artistry of print, but I just want to know where that, key is.
Yep.
and I don't need artistry for that. I just need the information. So it's tough to compete with convenience.
Yep. Do we think that GameStop shutting down Game Informer is another sign that GameStop is going under?
I think it's a sign that GameStop is really trying to staunch the bloody wound. They definitely got a second lease on life after that stock shenanigan shit that happened a while ago. But I mean, the reality is, whether they like it or not, whether we like it or not,
it's going digital.
Yeah, everything's going digital because it's cheaper.
You know what I find weird though?
Yeah.
Is that I don't know if this is just my particular store, or if it's different in the States. Maybe, who knows? But like every time I walk past an EB Games, there's a lot of people in there.
Yeah.
And I don't know if they're actually buying anything.
My sister was in there just the other day, picked up a copy of Princess Peach Showtime for my niece. Which,
there you go.
By the way, and fuck GameStop for this. It was a previously owned copy that they were selling for $70 Canadian.
Oh yeah, it's ridiculous.
Which is horseshit.
Oh yeah, ridiculous. Brand new game.
That's a game that just came out.
Yeah,
and so I know, but it's a used copy. Come on.
You're desperate for money when you sell a used game for the same price as a
yeah.
Practically
and that's not a
game.
new thing. That's a thing for forever. They've been doing that forever.
Yeah, they're a joke. Of a company, unfortunately. All right, well, we'll see what happens to GameStop. Rest in peace, Game Informer.
Yeah, I hope those people land on their feet, because it's not really about the magazine. It's about the people and being cut off, like without even being able to do a final issue. And apparently,
that sucks.
Like they don't even get to put out the one that they were working on. They were halfway through their current one, and
they were just like, "You're done."
Yeah.
Bye.
Like Nintendo Power got a final issue.
Mm-hmm.
It sucks
EGM.
that it sucks that you can't get to sort of put it to rest. It just gets pull the plug.
Yeah. We will. It'll be interesting to see if the people there get pulled into like IGN or like other games media.
I would love to see them land on their feet in some kind of like almost like a second wind kind of situation.
Hey, like you never know. They might pull together and be like, you know what, we're making GameInformer.com.
Yeah,
make their own website. Who knows?
Yeah, something like that.
You never know.
That'd be fun.
Yeah,
I honestly think that a lot of magazines should have transitioned to just being
to
online.
a website.
Yeah. I mean, some of them did. I mean, that's what OneUp.com is. It was EGM's website, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think so. And then they got bought out by IGN.
Of course.
Along with like everybody.
Yeah.
Pretty sure. All right, let's move on to the next piece of news. Actually, the next 3 pieces of news are all Xbox related.
All right.
And none of them are good.
Well,
because that's what Xbox does.
Yeah,
Xbox news is always bad
news about Xbox lately. What a fucking shock!
Shocker. So the first one is I'll just read it. This is a quote from Xbox's Twitter /X, whatever you want to call it. I'm going to call it Twitter from now on.
I'm going to call it Twitter because fuck Elon.
Yeah. Quote, so many games coming. As such, we are moving Avowed back to February 18th, 2025 to give players' backlogs some breathing room. Stay tuned for more from our games across Activision, Blizzard, Bethesda, and Xbox Game Studios at Gamescom, including our August 23rd live stream for a deep dive into Avowed.
Yeah, and what that really means is we don't want to release that against something that would be hard to compete against, which honestly, I think that publishers should do more of. Because,
I agree.
There are some games you can release against, and there are some games that is a death sentence to release against. And so far, Horizon is 2 for 2 on coming out near a Zelda game.
Yeah.
So,
and there's I don't know if there's any massive games coming out this fall, but we do have Call of Duty Black Ops 6, and we do have Assassin's Creed Shadows.
Yeah. There's stuff you just got to clear your schedule for, even if it's not in the same genre.
And honestly, the fall season of games is not the only season for games anymore.
No.
They finally smartened up and were like, you know what?
We don't need to dump everything in the lead up to Christmas.
Yeah. I remember when it was just the fall season was the big season, and then they moved into spring, and then they kind of pushed that all the way up to June, and then September.
Since they don't have to cover the cost of this is one of the advantages of digital. If you don't have to rely on everything being physical, you don't have to cover the costs of manufacturing and distributing all of those. You don't have to count on getting that Christmas buying money.
It's true.
To make your money back. You can just release whenever, because now manufacturing and distribution are essentially a non-issue. There are other reasons, of course, but that's,
Yeah, and you know what? Given how rough Avowed has looked, it's looked better and better as we've seen it, but I can't imagine it's not, that it's a bad thing that it's giving more time.
Any extra time that you can get to polish is rarely a bad thing.
I'm looking at the fall season. There really isn't anything massive October, November, December,
But Assassin's Creed. Is there a lot of stuff?
There's always a lot of stuff, but the noteworthy games.
Is there anything else that Microsoft is releasing that they don't want to cannibalize their own sales on?
Call of Duty Black Ops 6 would be the only real one, and the Diablo 4 expansion, I guess, if you want to count that.
Yeah, I don't.
Other than that,
they do, but no.
No, other than that, no. So we'll see. That there is a lot of games scheduled for August 29th still, but I think that's because that's the end of the fiscal quarter or something like that. So they just don't have actual release dates.
Yeah,
I think by the end of the month we're going to see a lot of new release dates and or delays.
Sure.
So we'll see how that goes. Continuing on Xbox's path of destruction. Xbox fans wave goodbye to 360 Marketplace as Microsoft finally shuts down the 19-year-old store.
I'd like to be upset about that, but 19 years, man. I'm surprised they kept it going this long.
Well, I think they tried to shut it down 3 years ago, and people bitched.
Yeah, there was also that with the PS3 store.
I don't know why.
It would be nice for those things to stay open forever, or at least to have the titles available forever. Maybe you can't buy them on your 360 anymore, but if you had just universal backwards compatibility with all 360 games on your Xbox Series X and could still get that'd be fine. I don't think people would complain too much about not being able to get it on the 360, but it's the fact that it's locked to that platform, and there are games that aren't available anywhere else. that makes it. Well, I mean, outside of piracy, of course, but I mean, we like to pay for our games if they will shut up and take our money.
Yeah, I don't think the 360 store shutdown is as big as the PS3 store shutdown, because the PS3's architecture has basically prevented any of those games from being ported.
Yeah,
that were exclusive to PS3. So I get that, but yeah, like
still no MGS4 anywhere else.
Bonkers crazy, right?
For
Bonkers
all
crazy.
The work that went into that game, for it to be just stuck, imprisoned on that one platform.
There's another game on that system that may or may not be in my remake list.
Oh,
so I will keep it to myself.
So you went more recent than I did.
Oh, I went every generation.
Not to spoil our topic of discussion for the week, but yeah.
Yeah, I went broad.
Yeah.
For sure.
Okay.
So that's that, and then finally, the worst news for Xbox. Xbox's hardware revenue is down 42% from last year.
Hardware is hard to make money on. It's expensive to make, and you got to sell it for even more to turn a profit. And
the big part of this, though, is that 42%, 31 of it was just from last quarter.
Ow.
So they're hurting.
Yeah. And that's not going to close up that Activision hole any faster.
I don't know what they're doing, man. Like you weren't here for the game industry topic of the week.
Yeah, that was your first one, wasn't it?
Yeah, we went deep into this, and we're basically like, I don't understand what their their long-term goal is. Like you're releasing hardware, but your philosophy is play anywhere.
Yeah,
so if we can play anywhere, why do I need an Xbox?
Yeah, there was a time when I felt like I was very much on the same page as Xbox.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And
360 gen, probably.
The original and the 360, it feels like they had such a crystal clear vision for what they wanted to do, which was basically, gaming PC too expensive, get an Xbox. Which is actually what I did for the original Xbox, because gaming PCs used to be...
That was how it was named.
Yeah.
The Direct Xbox.
Direct Xbox, yeah. And that's where I first played Morrowind on the 360. I think that's where a lot of people played Oblivion and Skyrim.
Yep.
Of course, now, PC gaming has it's still expensive to build a current, state-of-the-art gaming PC, or one that's near to it. But the thing is that numerical value hasn't changed, but when you look into inflation, it has. So like a $1,000 gaming PC today is not the same real cost as a $1,000 gaming PC a decade ago.
No.
But the game consoles have continued to climb in price along with inflation, and so the value proposition is just not as good. And I think...
In fact, they've risen in price in the middle of the generation for the first time in history.
Yes.
They went up $50.
Yep.
Crazy.
It's nuts.
They normally go down $50.
Yeah, especially this is usually the point where you start to see the price go down by $75 to $100.
But no, it went up.
No, it went up. And
crazy.
I kind of wonder if Microsoft is trying to grapple with the reality that the game console is just not the value proposition that it once was. But I don't know if this is the way to do it. Obviously, there's a lot we don't know about what they're planning on the inside and what they're just thinking on the inside, but it definitely feels a lot more aimless than it did at the beginning, when I was like super on board with the Xbox platform and I thought it was a great idea. I mean, it was great. Original Xbox was great. 360 was great, but like the fact that I didn't feel compelled to buy an Xbox One or an Xbox Series is kind of...
There's only one game console that I didn't buy since I started buying consoles, and that's the Xbox One. There was no reason to buy it. There just wasn't.
Yep.
However, I don't want to shit all over Xbox completely.
No.
There's some caveats here.
Sure.
One of them being that both Sony and Nintendo also have confirmed that they are seeing double-digit percentage declines Not to this extent, obviously.
Yeah.
But they are seeing double-digit declines. But those ones aren't too surprising.
Especially with the Switch, because it is at the
it's
end.
At the end of its life.
It's at the end of its life. Most of the people who have one or want one have one. So this is
the fact that it's still selling as well as it is
mind-boggling. Is shocking. Is quite
10
frankly
years on, man. It's crazy.
Quite frankly, it is. It's mind-blowing.
Yep.
But this is absolutely the period at which it would start to drop off, and you might see a little bit of a pickup once the successor is released, because they'll drop the price of the original Switch, and then maybe people will pick it up on the cheap. But I mean, that's not typically a thing that makes a huge difference or lasts for very long. And as for the PS5, I don't know. I can't really speak to that. I don't know what the state of the PS5 is. I don't have one.
So that one's a little bit more. That one's a little bit more easy to understand, I think, because it's sold so well that it was inevitable that it was eventually going to start dipping.
This is the drop off point in the.
We're over halfway in the lifespan of the console,
which is crazy to think about.
I know this generation for me personally might go down as one of the worst that
it's been really, really sluggish, because it doesn't feel like there's been enough of a need to transition to.
The lack of exclusives is insane.
Yeah,
something happened this generation that just did not go well.
It's like. Look, the solid state drive in the PS5 is cool and everything, but I don't see a compelling argument for getting a PS5 when a lot of the games are still coming out for the PS4. They've only just now started to drop off the cross generation thing,
which is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Call of Duty Black Ops 6 is still cross gen.
Yeah, but I mean,
mind blowing.
I was actually thinking about this today. Is that this is kind of the first generation where that's even been possible, because the jump between the PS4 and the PS5 is not as significant as the PS3
and the backwards compatibility stuff is right there,
and because the hardware is so similar, it's just natively backwards compatible.
Yeah,
you would never have been able to do this with the Super Nintendo to the N64. You wouldn't have been able to put out the same game on both platforms. It would have been a completely different game. So it's a different time.
It is a different time for sure. It's hard to tell.
And I don't think that publishers and developers have kind of caught up with how it's a different time as quickly as maybe as quickly as you'd hope they would. But I game development takes so long now that it just you can't really keep up with the times.
And I think you're going to see AAA development shrink a little bit, not in terms of how many games we get, but in terms of how much they're pushing the envelope, especially visually. I think we're going to see things level off for a little bit.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
They're going to be like, you know what? These games can't take 7 years.
I'm honestly surprised. There's one aspect of gaming that was pushed for a little while and never took off, which is episodic gaming. At least here in North America. I know that in Japan, with mobile games, episodic gaming was pretty common. And to a certain degree remains as such. But I thought for sure with, games taking so long to develop that releasing them episodically would be much more common across the industry.
It worked for the Telltale games, and that's basically it.
Yeah, that's it. Telltale is the only company that ever really delivered on that philosophy.
For sure.
Valve tried it and it did not do very well. It took them so long to get Half-Life 2 Episode 1 and Half-Life 2 Episode 2 out.
Don't even get me started on Valve.
Yeah.
Don't even get me started on them.
It's just one of those weird... Oh, remember Sin Episodes? Or should I say Sin Episode, for there was only one?
One.
Oh, man.
The other two things that Xbox has going for it in terms of hardware that may be affecting its decline as well is that they've already announced a next-gen console is in the works.
And it'd have to be at this point.
Yeah, but they actually talked about it, which
they shouldn't do at this point.
No, it's too early.
Everybody knows that by the halfway point of the generation,
you're already doing research and development.
But you don't talk about that because it's going to make people go, "Oh, I'll just wait for the next one."
And the other thing is that they've announced that they have plans to share information about hardware this holiday season.
Oh.
To me, is probably not the next console. it's probably the handheld that has been rumored for a while.
I remember Xbox handheld rumors from like 20 years ago. I'll believe that when I see it.
Well,
unless it's a streaming thing.
No. So when Xbox had their summer, like their E3 conference this year, Phil Spencer went on IGN's IGN Live show with Ryan McCaffrey. And Ryan McCaffrey asked him about those rumors, and he couldn't confirm or deny them, but if you read between the lines, he was basically like, stay tuned. And Ryan at one point asked him, he's like, theoretically, if you did this, would it be a streaming device like, the PlayStation Portal, or are we talking? And Phil cut him off.
The PlayStation Portal, I believe, is what they call it.
Well, what'd I say?
You said portable.
Oh, portable,
which is totally understandable because you'd rather be playing that.
Yeah, they're both PSP.
You'd rather be playing a good system instead of fucking Stadia with the PlayStation branding.
Yeah, actually, the Portal's not bad. I'm not gonna lie. I've tried it out. It's pretty cool for what it is. But
caveats.
Yeah. But Phil cut him off before he could even finish asking the question. And it was like, oh no, it would be local.
Okay.
So
he knows what's up.
I think it's pretty much a guarantee that we're gonna get a X deck.
Yeah.
Hopefully they're smart enough to allow it to run Steam on it and not just Xbox Game Pass and Xbox Store.
I mean, Xbox Game Pass seems like the obvious thing, but we'll see.
Yeah.
It would be, in that space, it would be very difficult to compete with the Steam Deck if you didn't have Steam. So it might just be an Xbox branded ultra mobile PC.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking it might be. All right, let's move on to we got 2 left. This one's quick. PlayStation has announced August's free games for PS Plus members. To me, they are not a good haul this month. I kind of skip these most of the time because they're usually crap, honestly.
I skip them all the time because I don't have a PlayStation.
Yeah.
So this will be real quick.
I usually wait for the game catalog update. That's their Game Pass equivalent. But in August, we're going to get Lego Star Wars The Skywalker Saga for PS4 and PS5.
Okay.
We are going to get Five Nights at Freddy's Security Breach for PS4 and PS5.
Okay.
And we are going to get Ender Lilies.
I don't even know what that is.
It is apparently a 2D action RPG.
Oh, okay.
It looks like Dragon's Crown.
Oh, all right.
So that's all. I don't have much else to say about that.
Yeah,
I think
not much to say about that.
July's games right now are Borderlands 3, NHL 24, and Among Us. So make sure you get that stuff before it's gone. If you claim it, you have it forever. So claim it.
So long as you have a PlayStation Network subscription.
Yeah. Even if you have just the basic one, you'll be able to keep them. And finally, this is the big one that has been going around pretty much all week in multiple news stories, and that is the massive layoffs at Bungie.
Yep.
I think they announced 17% of their workforce were eliminated due to financial challenges.
Right? Didn't the guy just, like, the head of it just spend a bunch of money on fancy cars? Yeah.
Yeah, so the layoffs were not a surprise because Bungie's not doing very well right now. Destiny 2 is it's coasting at the best. They just released another expansion, which has received good feedback, but I don't think it's moving the needle for them enough.
It's not hitting the way that it used to.
And there was a lot of game industry blowback from these, especially from the people that got laid off. There was
there should be
a bunch of stories about people that, like this one that I'm reading right now, she was promoted last month, and now she's laid off. That would piss me off.
Yeah.
Here's a quote: "Inexcusable industry-leading talent being lost yet again. Accountability falling upon the workers who have pushed the needle to deliver for our community time and time again. Please maintain focus on those who've lost their position and income and offer help wherever you can."
Yeah, that is fucked.
Yeah, a lot of them are blaming CEO Pete Parsons, like you just said, clearly being paid more than he is.
You'll notice he didn't lose his job.
course not. CEOs never lose their job. They're the kingpins.
He couldn't possibly take a pay cut to try and keep as many people employed as possible. No, he's got to stay up in.
Yeah, I can't. There's a company, I think it's a Japanese games developer, who has gone on the record of saying, "I will cut my income before I let anyone go. We will never let anyone go."
So about that, I think they're. I think
was it from software? I think it was from software.
It might be. I think there are provisions like employee protections in Japanese law that mandate a certain amount of belt tightening at the top before you let people go, but I don't know the details of that. I do not know.
Maybe we should be following that.
Yeah,
in fact, I think we should. It's a joke that CEOs get to make.
Yeah, that would be a thing we'd have to do a lot of research into.
For sure.
Into Japanese corporate law. So
that might. Well, you know what? Just the whole idea of how much the CEOs get paid versus the actual people that develop the game. I
feel like there should be a law that if you are a CEO or really anybody at a company should not be allowed to take more than let's say 5 times what the lowest paid worker is. Because as a CEO, I'm not going to say that you don't do a lot of valuable work.
I'm sure they do, but
you got to make important decisions about a lot of people's jobs. But you're not doing 100 times more work than anybody.
No,
so you shouldn't be getting paid that much more.
It looks like there was a large post here from who is this?
I've been seeing a lot of them on Twitter. It's honestly pretty heartbreaking, some of that stuff.
This one's just a player, but I guess he has some insider knowledge. His leadership needs to be changed. Their decisions have consistently led to disaster for everyone who's actually been making the games.
Yeah.
They've been reckless with the studio, its employees, and the franchise. The problem is clear. Bad leadership. It needs to change.
Yeah. I've also seen a lot of criticism of Sony for just buying Bungie in 100%. The first place, which, I agree.
I don't know what's with Sony lately. They bought Bungie, and they also bought Firewalk, who's the guys that are doing Concord. And it seems like both of these are pretty big mistakes.
You don't need to own. I know why it is. It's because they want to get exclusivity and they want to keep it off their competitor as much as possible. Buy them after. But
buy them after they prove themselves. And
or just have a good working relationship with them and don't tie their financial success or their success to your finances.
Well, look at Helldivers 2. They don't own the Arrowhead Studios.
Yeah, and so far it's been doing really well for them.
I think Helldivers 2 is the fastest selling PlayStation exclusive of all time.
Yeah,
and they didn't even make it.
Yeah,
it's crazy. But that's it. Yeah,
or at the very least, offer them an exit strategy, because that's what Nintendo did. Nintendo worked with Rare, then acquired Rare, and then let Rare go. And then
Microsoft bought them and Shadow.
Yeah, that's a perfect contrast. For all the problems that Nintendo has, which is a phrase that I use a lot.
Mm-hmm.
They typically know how to treat their developers very well. You have a crazy amount of retention at Nintendo. You don't have a completely different list of names in the credits in every single game. You see a lot of the same people in there because a lot of the same people work there and have good job security. And Absolutely. I think they genuinely enjoy working there.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sucks. I think Bungie is probably on course for being absorbed into Sony at this point. I don't think they're gonna survive this. We'll see. They've got Marathon still in production. Apparently, this layoff also canceled several projects that they were working on.
Well, that's great.
Yeah, so they're only focused on further Destiny 2 content and Marathon, and that's it. Their other projects are they've been
that's a very Activision move to pull the rug out from under them and send them to the Call of Duty mines instead of letting them do cool and original stuff.
Yeah, I think they're in trouble.
Okay. Well, all right. That's a shitty note to leave the news on, but
it is. But we have a great topic of the week, which
is
where we're going.
And don't forget that time code.
Time code initiated.
Time code. All right.
So I'm going to lead off something here because I have a piece of information that I'm going to throw out there to lead us off. I'll let you pick the first remake. But the topic of the week this week is games that we would love to see a remake for, and we're not talking about remasters.
Yes, because we actually did talk about this and set ground rules this time.
We set ground rules. Yeah, no remasters. This is a ground up remake of the original that is faithful to the original. So almost Final Fantasy VII remake style. It doesn't have to be exactly that, but that kind of faithfulness.
Yeah.
And it also can't be a sequel because a lot of the games that we were coming across, we were like, do we need a remake of that?
Yeah,
or do we just want a
we talked about that. We didn't share our list beforehand. We don't generally do that because the point is to have the discussion on the show. But yeah, we said it's got to be a from scratch remake. It can't just be a remaster, a re-release, an enhanced edition, a sequel to something that hasn't had a sequel in a while. Because if we were talking about that, we would be here until next week. I truly, unironically believe we could fill 168 hours of uncut, unstopped discussion about that because there's so much.
Absolutely. And here comes Dante to say hi because he's been so quiet. Hi, buddy. And before we get to your first remake, I put together a list of the currently announced in development remakes.
So
that we know what's being developed currently in case there's any overlap.
That was a thing I had to look into a bit, so that I didn't pick something that already was.
So here we go. So we got Epic Mickey is being
I didn't know about remade. That one.
Yeah, so that was the Wii Disney game where you played Mickey Mouse with a magic paintbrush.
But like the old school Disney that is now, or the old school Mickey that's now public domain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Silent Hill 2 also being remade. That one's looking a little shaky, though.
Well, we'll see.
Yeah. Romancing Saga 2 is being remade.
Didn't that already get a remake? I swear I've got that on my Switch.
Maybe the first one did. Now this is the second one. I don't know.
If they remake them as often as they remake Final Fantasy games, we'll have like 20 within the next 5 years.
Dragon Quest 1, 2, and 3 are all being remade.
Again, a million remakes of those games already.
This is the 2D HD style.
HD 2D, of course.
Like the Octopath Traveler kind of style.
Yep.
What else is being remade? Gothic is being remade.
Mm-hmm.
They just released a new trailer for that, actually. I didn't include it in the...
I'll check that out after the show.
Looked kind of interesting. Metal Gear Solid 3.
Right.
Or Delta, as it's being called.
Yep.
Until Dawn, for some strange reason, is getting a remake.
I thought... Aren't they adapting that into a movie?
Yeah, I think they are. Yeah.
I wonder... So, here's my question. If they get different actors to play the characters in the movie, because, I mean, that game came out, like... none of those actors are teenagers anymore. No. So, if they recast those roles for the movie...
I think Sean Astin's in that movie.
Would they recast him for the game? Because all the characters in the game are based on real people. Like they're.
Oh, I can guarantee you that they're gonna just have a completely different cast. I'd be shocked if they.
That would actually be kind of interesting.
Oh yeah, I'd rather see them reprise their roles, but
yeah.
Prince of Persia: Sands of Time also being remade.
Yep.
It was already almost done, and then they scrapped it because of the fan outcry that it wasn't good enough.
Oh.
So they've rebooted that, and it's a 2026 release date.
Okay.
Front Mission 3 is being remade. Front Mission 2 and 1, I think, have already been done.
Yes, and that's why I didn't put Front Mission on my list.
There you go. Knights of the Old Republic apparently is still in development.
Yep.
As a remake from, is it Aspire Studios?
I think so, but I could be wrong.
Max Payne 1 and 2 are getting remakes as well, which is crazy.
Also why I didn't put that on my list.
Yep. And finally, The Witcher 1 is being remade.
Oh, that's okay. That's good because The Witcher 1 was not good. And The Witcher 3 was great. So if they're going to do that in the style of The Witcher 3, that'll be awesome.
We will see how that goes. So those are the currently announced remakes. So none of those will make our list. Go for it. What's your first one?
Oh man, I got a lot. Again, we're trying to limit this to 10, but we did have more. And so I texted you a little while ago and I said this is harder than I thought because I hadn't really put too much thought into it, but it's hard, but it's hard in a good way, because a lot of the, like, if you'd asked me to do this list 5 years ago, I would have had a lot of titles prepared for you within seconds. Like, I would have said Seiken Densetsu 3, Resident Evil 2, ActRaiser, you know.
Yeah. But they've all been remade now.
They've all been remade, and the remakes have all been really good. So
yeah, the ActRaiser one was pretty good.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah.
So a lot of the stuff that I would have said, we've gotten remakes of Super Mario RPG.
Mm-hmm. I haven't played that one yet. I really want to get to that.
Guess what? Did you like the original? Yeah. Well, you're gonna like this.
Yep, I'm sure that's one of my favorites.
It's awesome.
Gino.
So yeah, so I had to reach a little bit deeper. And of course, the sequel thing, of course, is also like, well, Pokemon Snap got a sequel, which was awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So, which one am I gonna start with? Oh, this is tough, because there's a.
Give me an old one.
Give you an old one, sure.
Yeah,
I went older. I don't think I have anything here that's more recent than 1999. So.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, I went old. Started off simple. Breath of Fire.
Oh yeah. How many games did they have in that? Was it 3 or 4?
No, they made 6 Breath of Fire games. The 6th one was a Japanese-only mobile game.
What was 5?
5 was Breath of Fire Dragon Quarter on the PS2.
But what was it for, though?
It was the PS2.
What?
Yep.
Were they good?
I only played up to Breath of Fire 4. I haven't played Dragon
I only played
Quarter.
1 and 2, and I didn't beat either of them. Was 3 and 4 any good?
Yeah. 3 was pretty good. 4 was, it wasn't as good, but it was still fine.
It is kind of weird that Capcom just kind of... That's Capcom, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's weird that they just kind of left that series.
It is, but I kind of feel like they were just making the same game over and over again, so maybe they just got tired of making blue-haired sword wielder who turns into a dragon and is accompanied by a girl with wings. But,
yeah,
I mean, look, even if they made the gameplay the exact same, which is, pretty much what they did with Mario RPG, there's a few little tweaks to the battle system, but it is largely the same game with better graphics. But, I mean, some of the enemies in that game are really cool, especially the final boss. Look amazing. Would love to see those, like, fully cel-shaded 3D. The dragon transformations, those would look really cool. Think about the cinematic animations they could have for the dragon transformations.
So you want a full 3D remake?
Yeah. Absolutely. I think that'd look really cool.
I really liked the art style of Dragon Quest XI. Do you think that would be...
Maybe not like the Akira Toriyama, R.I.P. by the way, like Dragon Ball Z style artwork, but like the sort of anime cel shaded look. I mean, if you remember the box art for 1 and 2, they had sort of an American comic book look to them, but the illustrated look, I think, would be a really good fit. I mean, I honestly, I could go for Breath of Fire 1 or 2. I actually prefer 2, but I mean, you can't really do 2 without doing 1. So I say Breath of Fire 1, but I really want Breath of Fire 2. It's pretty straightforward. Easy one to start with.
All right. I'm going to go a little bit more modern then.
Sure.
It's one of my favorite RPGs of all time, and it is marooned on 2 islands that it can't get off.
So you're not going to say Lord of the Rings: The Third Age again?
No, I'm not. That is marooned, but this one is a crime that it is marooned on 2 consoles and hasn't been brought back yet. They could do I thought about it and I was like, you know what? They could do just a port or a remaster, but I'm like, you know what? Let's give this bad boy a full remake because it could be really dope. And that is Skies of Arcadia.
I thought about putting Skies of Arcadia on my list, and I said, no, he will 100% have that on there.
Yeah.
That's also why I didn't put Evolution on my list, because I was like, he might have Evolution.
Evolution?
That was another Dreamcast RPG.
It's not on my list.
Oh, it's not? Okay.
So there you go. You can use that one if you want.
But I didn't put it on my list. Man. Yes, Skies of Arcadia. Sure.
I didn't play the original. I may have played it like at my buddy's house because he had a Dreamcast, but I never owned one.
You're talking about Shun, I assume? Yeah.
Yeah. He had a Dreamcast, so that's where I played stuff like
I also
TSO
have a game that I played for the first time on Shun's Dreamcast.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Yeah, I think I played Seaman on it, and yeah, a whole bunch of stuff. But
yeah,
I actually got into and played it through on the GameCube when it came out as Skies of Arcadia Legends, I think was the full title. And man, that game is just fantastic. What a
Sky
cool battle
Pirates.
system. Yeah, Sky Pirates.
It's hard to go wrong with Sky Pirates as a theme. It's cool.
Yeah, you have turn-based battle systems with great characters. No voice acting, which that could be cool if they added that in the remake.
That'd be a good reason to do it.
Yeah, airship battles and amazing music. I can hear it in my head right now. I wish I could play it for everybody. But yeah, I just want to be able to play that game again without having to go through the headache of hooking up a GameCube.
Oh, Dolphin's pretty easy to get going.
That's true. I never. Well, I don't know if my computer would run.
Oh, come on!
My computer sucks, dude.
But Dolphin's been around and been usable for a long time, so hardware from even back then.
Maybe it's optimized enough for my computer to handle it. Maybe
you might not be able to run it at high definition. You might still be rocking the 480i, but
the 4x3.
Yeah,
or the 4.3H. Yeah.
But I mean, it it's an option. It's there.
Absolutely. Yeah, I love that game.
Sure. Okay, so should I get on with my next one?
Absolutely.
All right.
I'm writing down my tags.
Yeah. So okay. Let's just stay with the Dreamcast instead of holding you in suspense. Toy Commander.
Oh snap! Oh, I completely forgot about that game.
That was the first Dreamcast game I ever played, and boy, did it make an impression.
Wow.
Game where you take control of little toy planes and other vehicles, and you shoot missiles made out of pencils and erasers, and your battlefield is just the rooms of a house. Great game.
Clever game that was.
Yeah, it was a good game. I would love to see that.
You know what?
Yeah.
You know how they keep doing like Genesis collections and all this stuff? Why hasn't there been a Dreamcast
collection? I don't know, man.
Sega, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Dreamcast collection. Go. Yeah. Power Stone. Seaman.
Oh man, Power Stone.
Guys, Arcadia. Let's go. There's so many. Yeah,
Toy Commander. I thought about not putting it on the list because I'd be satisfied with just like a remastered port. But I also think man, the things you could do with that house with modern hardware. So I'm going to say full remake for Toy Commander. That'd be cool.
Absolutely.
And I think that's all there's to say. Toy Commander, cool game. Do it.
For sure. I'm going to get an easy one off of my list that you probably didn't put on your list because you thought I would have it on there. But maybe you do.
This will be fun, the getting into each other's heads.
Yeah. Chrono Trigger.
Yeah, I didn't put that on my list. And the reason I didn't put it on my list is does it even need it? But I could hear an argument for it. Sure.
I mean, there's so many different ways they could do it.
There are a lot.
They could do the 2D HD style. They could, as a full remake, or they could just modernize the original style of the game and keep it the same, that overhead kind of view. But they could also go full 3D Chrono Cross, kind of a style of a remake. As long as they keep the same battle system, I don't really care how they do it.
Yeah.
As long as they keep that music, do 4 orchestral versions of that soundtrack.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd poop my pants if I saw them.
It's one of the best games ever made, and there's never been a turn on it. You know how some games people are like, oh, this is the best ever, and then after a few years go, no, this game
wasn't as good as I remember.
My opinion is counterculture. No one's ever turned on Chrono Trigger.
Yeah, it's that good, and you know what? I have you to thank for that.
Oh yeah,
you turned me onto that game.
All right,
I'd never even heard of it. I was like, what's
really?
Chrono Trigger? And then I think I borrowed your copy or something.
Probably.
And I was like,
there was a lot of borrowing and exchanging of games back then.
Yes, there was. Yeah, that game, man.
Yeah,
I think I that is one game from that era that I go back to every couple of years.
Dude, I don't know how many times I've played it.
It's
been a lot.
It's not even that long of a game, really.
No, it's not. But it's especially once you know your way through it. But because there's so many endings you can get.
Yeah.
There's always a reason to go back and play it.
It's so good.
See the weird ending where the dinosaurs ended up winning and everybody's a dinosaur person. You know, it's like, God. Wake up, Chrono, and it's like a reptile Chrono.
There's one thing about that game that always catches me off guard that I've completely forgot about. Like, yeah. I remember the three main characters of Marley. Marley, is that how you say her name?
I have no idea. There's no voice acting in the game.
We're gonna go say Marley. Marley, Luca, and Chrono, and I remember Frog, and then I remember Robo, and I remember Magus, but is it Ilea?
Isla, yeah.
Isla. She always comes out of nowhere, and I'm like, oh yeah, there's this cave woman chick in this game.
Yeah, yeah.
Completely forgot about you.
Yeah, I didn't use her that much because she doesn't have magic. She has.
No, it's all physical.
She has abilities, but it's not, you know.
Yeah.
So
very kind of Robo-like, almost. Yeah. Just without the electricity.
Yeah, but she has like really buff stats, so
yeah,
that kind of makes up for it. But yeah, it's a great game. I'm always happy to play it.
I could play that game any day of the week, and I'd be happy with it. Just everything about it is perfect. It's a perfect game.
Okay.
All right, what's your next one?
Next
Number
one.
3.
Yeah, you know what? I think I'm just gonna go with something that's obvious. Blast Core from the N64. Classic.
Blast Core?
Yeah, the classic game of let's wreck shit so that this this runaway truck with a nuclear warhead doesn't, detonate.
You know what I mean, it's not surprising that it hasn't been retooled or in any way because it's Rockstar.
It's rare.
Is it rare?
Yes. Spoiler alert, I also have a Rockstar game from the N64 on here that also begins with the letter B.
I could have sworn Rockstar made Blast Core.
Nope.
Wow. Okay, well, never mind then. Then I am shocked that it hasn't been reached into because that game has mobile written all over it.
They did. They put it out on that Rare Replay compilation from a while ago.
That's right. Yeah.
But I think about what you could do with this again with modern hardware, like the destruction physics you could get going. Like you think of like Red Faction Guerrilla.
Man. Yeah. Oh man,
Blast Core. Oh, that'd be fun. Like just to see the destruction, the fucking jetpack robot where you do the slam down onto the buildings, or the dump truck that you have to power slide into buildings. Frustrating, but fun.
Yeah,
it's a fun game.
I think it was a launch title for the N64.
Not a launch title, but
launch
window for sure.
Yeah.
Early 97, sure. I think.
Wow. Yeah. No. What? How would you see that game remade? Like, would you just remake it from the ground up, or would it be a top down still kind of a viewpoint, or would you go full 3D?
Camera options, because not being able to see how far away the carrier is kind of an issue. There was a carry cam option, but that wasn't actually super helpful. The ability to rotate the camera around and see into the horizon to see how far away it is, that'd be really helpful. But also having a top-down camera to kind of maximize your where you are relative to the buildings for destroying them. Yeah, just multiple camera options.
Gotcha. All right. My next one is one that you already know I'm going to say, so I'm just going to get out of the way.
Go
Brute
for
Force.
Yeah.
Brute Force, for those that don't know, was a Xbox OG.
A game that we will never not talk about. It will come up every episode.
Nope. I think it was a 4-player split screen co-op experience, but you could play it with 2 or 1 or whatever.
And it had System Link. And I tried to emulate it the other night, and I sent you a picture of it running at 6 frames per second.
6 frames.
It was rough. It was very rough. And the reason I didn't put it on my list is actually not because I knew it would be on yours. It's because I would be fine with that game just getting a port to PC.
Yeah, I would probably be fine with a remaster, but I would also kind of like to see what someone could do with the idea of that asynchronous 4 different character classes doing, and
it's a fun game.
It's fun. Yeah, it's great. It runs at 20 frames per second, even on the Xbox, but it's so,
Yeah, it's like we were talking about with Dungeonborne. We really want a good co-op PvE game.
They need to bring more co-op in general.
That's what that game is. It's right up our alley. So it's no wonder we love it so much.
I'm sure you remember Electric Playground.
I never watched it, but I do remember it. Yeah, I wasn't. Look.
What?
Gamer culture just was not a thing for me.
It was like the original gaming show.
Hey. Video and Arcade Top 10, please. Put some respect on that name.
That was probably first, you're right. But it wasn't like it didn't
it wasn't a game show like
no.
Like Video and Arcade Top 10 for anybody who doesn't know, Video and Arcade Top 10 was a competitive game show where the competitors played video games. It aired in the 90s on a channel called YTV, and it was like all Nintendo stuff. They also had like, it was one of those games or one of those game shows where anybody involved in any way could win prizes. In fact, I won prizes on it once because if you got your letter to the show read on the air, you'd get a copy of one of the games they were playing. And awesome. I sent in a letter and I got it read, and so I got a free copy of the game.
What game was it? Do you remember?
It was Yoshi's Island, which I already had a copy of.
Oh, bummer.
But do you remember Dirt Tracks FX?
Yep.
That's how I got that. Is I traded in.
Traded it in
for. I was going to trade it in for Uniracers at the local Microplay. You know, and the guy who ran that place, Brian, which well, I'm sure you remember, the Scottish guy.
Yep.
Yeah, he said you could do that, but I'm not going to do his accent because
I'm not going to do it.
Yeah, but he said, "How about you try this one?" Because this one is people have really liked this one. He pulls out this game Dirt Tracks FX, which I'd never heard of before, and he puts it in the Super Nintendo that he had hooked up to the store TV, and I was playing. I was like, this is really good. Okay, I'll trade it in for this. That's how I got Dirt Tracks FX, which is a game that is really a really good super. Oh, I should have put that on the list. Nah, it's just a motocross game. It could be filled. It could be filled by anything.
By anything, yeah. I came across a lot of those too, where I was like, they could make anything.
Actually, I had Excite Bike on my list as well, but then I said Trials exists. Trials HD.
Oh, I thought you meant Excite Bike 64 because I liked that one.
Yeah, but I was specifically the side-scrolling dirt bike level editor. One. Trials Evolution has everything that you could.
It's taken over that name.
Yeah, sure. And so there's no need for an Excite Bike remake. So that a few didn't make it onto my list for that reason. Nightmare Creatures is also another one that didn't make it onto my list for that reason, because we have Bloodborne.
Yeah.
And what would a Nightmare Creatures remake be if not just Bloodborne? So a lot got eliminated from my list for that reason.
All right. What's your number 4?
Number 4. Well, I mean, I already alluded to it, so here we go. Body Harvest, the game you were thinking of, which is a Rockstar developed game back when they were still DMA design. Precursor to GTA 3 in a lot of ways. Big open world, third-person shooting you can get in vehicles, except it has giant time-traveling bug aliens.
Yeah, I remember that now.
I'd love to see that get a remake.
Yeah.
It was a good game. I think it could be better. And imagine the environments again you could do with modern hardware. That's going to come up a lot because a lot of these games are so old.
Yeah,
it's going to be about just imagine if they didn't have those limitations back then. Body Harvest, great game for the N64. I would love to see it come back.
Absolutely. Okay. Oh, what do I go with here? I don't have any 64 games.
I've got that covered. I've got that well covered. I've got 2 more on the list.
I don't even. Do I have? I'm trying to. Let's see. Look at my oldest. What's my oldest one here? I don't know which one to go with. You know what? I'm gonna go with a Game Boy game.
Sure.
Technically, it's 2 games.
Okay. Zelda,
Oracle of Seasons and Oracle of Ages.
Oh, they could give that the Link's Awakening treatment.
Exactly. That's exactly what I was thinking. I was like, those games are trapped. Actually, they're not trapped anymore. They did release them on Nintendo Online. Yes. So you can play them on.
That's actually where I played them most recently.
Yeah. I've only played Season.
I've played them both.
I plan on playing Ages.
I will say Seasons is better, but Ages isn't bad. It's just that Seasons is better.
Yeah, it's more unique. 4 different seasons to change the environment.
Yeah, I mean, we'd done the time thing in Ocarina of Time already, so seasons is the one that kind of drew me to it.
But yeah, they can make the new 2D aesthetic that they've been using.
I wouldn't be surprised if they do. I wouldn't be surprised if they do, because I kind of feel like after doing Tears of the Kingdom, it might be a little while before they do another huge Zelda game.
Well, we're getting Echoes of Wisdom now, but
right. But after that, I wouldn't be surprised if they sort of, because they'll have all those assets fresh. True. I wouldn't be surprised if they keep it rolling.
Yeah, I would love to see that. Those games are very good. And they're not even by Nintendo.
No, they're Capcom games.
Capcom made a Zelda game.
I remember thinking that was such a weird thing, and then they came out and I was like, these are really good.
And there's technically there was supposed to be a third game.
Yes, there was.
But there still kind of is. If you finish both games and then link them together, then there's like a final.
There's a final unlockable
dungeon, I think it is. Yeah. It's just like a one-off dungeon, so they didn't make a third game, but they did leave that
I remember reading that the third game was just going to be a remake of the original Zelda, but I don't know how accurate that was. That is a thing that I've remembered from over 20 years ago, so don't quote me on the accuracy of that. That could be inaccurate information that I have misremembered.
So I think if I remember, like, I'm trying to remember, because I think the idea behind it was that they were all based on the 3 oracles.
Yes.
In Zelda, so like wisdom, power, and
courage.
Yeah, so like I don't know which one was season and which one was ages.
So Din, which is the goddess of power and thus the oracle of power, because they're all named after the Hylian goddesses, was for oracle of seasons, and then Nehru was for oracle of ages. And the way that you link the 2 games together is you speak to Faror, the oracle of secrets, who will facilitate the linking of those games to unlock the secret ending.
Gotcha. Yeah, I looked up the wiki here. It says the Chapter of Power was the original name, and it ended up being the season, a game. The Chapter of Wisdom featured some sort of magic paintbrush.
Mario Sunshine.
Yeah, it was something to do with like color-themed puzzles, which is weird because...
Well, it was a Game Boy Color game.
Yeah, and they were all one color, right? Weren't the Game Boy Color games just like one color, the whole screen?
No. If you played an original Game Boy game on the Game Boy Color, it was kind of like that. But if you played a game developed for the Game Boy Color, it had a fairly rich palette, kind of on par with the NES. Not exactly the same, but similar.
Trying to see if they ever actually gave a name to it.
Yeah, I don't know. I said, this is ancient.
Chapter of Courage was the time.
Yeah,
the time one. So the Chapter of Wisdom with the magic paintbrush was the one that didn't get.
Okay, so they shuffled it around a bit.
Yeah.
Honestly, I wouldn't mind seeing a remake of the original Legend of Zelda in that in the Link's Awakening remake style. Yeah, I think it could work. It would
be a lot more work, I think, because they'd have to fill in the gaps of like where things.
Yeah, but
you know what I mean?
How bad would that be? I mean, Nintendo going back to do a classic like that. I guess that's a free. Here's a remake that would be good. It's not on either of our lists, but
no. Okay, what's your next one? Number 5, I think we're on.
This will be number 5. So I gotta start thinking more seriously about these. I'm gonna go for a very simple one. Phantasy Star 2.
Okay.
Phantasy Star 1 is really good. Phantasy Star 4 is really good. Phantasy Star 3 I haven't played a whole lot of. I need to do more of that. I've been playing the old Phantasy Star games within the last year or so, just because I didn't play them back in the day. Phantasy Star 2 is really bad. It's really bad, and it's the kind
bad,
of...
So you want a remake of it?
Yeah, because do it better this time. That's the kind of game that needs a remake the most, is a one that's bad but has potential.
In that case, Duke Nukem Forever should be on our list.
This is not the only bad RPG that I think should be done better that I have on my list. But so
Okay.
Phantasy Star 2 is one of these games that's really, really, really obviously rushed. And the way in which that is, well, there's two ways in which that's obvious. One is there's no backgrounds in the battle screen. It's just like a cyber grid or something. The original Phantasy Star, which is a Master System game, by the way, has incredibly lavish backgrounds. It is a gorgeous game that is above and beyond anything else I've seen on the Master System. It looks awesome.
Master System was underrated.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie.
Obviously, graphics aren't everything, but it speaks to a lot of, the time that they had to put into a game when they don't even have unique backgrounds for the battle scenes in an RPG. That's kind of a thing.
Yep.
But the real thing that kills it is the way that you get new party members. You would think that you would meet them as part of the story, and they'd say like, "Oh, you're here because you want to fight this villain. I want to fight this villain too. Let's join forces." Like a story reason, right? You'd think. No. Here's how you get new allies in Phantasy Star 2. You reach a particular point in the story, then you go back to your house in the starting town, and then there's a little scene where, oh, there's a knock on the door. Hey, a new person is here and they want to join us. Why? I guess they just heard of us. Whatever. Like there's no story explanation. They just show up at your door.
No rhyme or reason.
It's so obvious a thing that they just had to cut for time, because I don't know, maybe the game was rushed or what, but
and nobody ever did like a fan made fix for it?
No, it's too extensive. You'd have to rewrite massive chunks of the game's story. You'd have to add in chunks of the game's story.
Hey man, fans have done some crazy stuff.
They have, but as far as I know, nobody's done that for Phantasy Star 2. Now there was like a graphical upgrade. Sega did a bunch of these games, the Sega Ages games on the PS2, mostly in Japan. In fact, I think exclusively in Japan, where they took old games and gave them like modern graphics, and they did that for Phantasy Star 2. But it's not what I'm talking about. It like they need to actually write the complete story correctly,
right?
Because because it could be a really good game if they did that. And it's been enough time. I think you could get away with it. Like it's not exactly like we've been drowning in Phantasy Star content recently. So
no, dead franchise practically.
Why not? Well, there's PSO2.
Yeah.
But
from a single player standpoint, I guess.
For a single player standpoint, yeah.
PSO kind of took that thing over.
Yeah. So why not? Go do it, Sega. What else are you doing?
Sega says they have a lot of reboots of IP coming.
Yeah, but is that just another Genesis collection?
No. They had a trailer. I think it was at this I call it E3, but whatever. This E3.
What used to be E3?
Yeah, they did like a quick trailer. It was like 40 seconds long, and they just had like a bunch of logos for a bunch of old IP.
Yeah, but that doesn't necessarily mean anything.
Well, they've only confirmed, I think, 2 right now, which is Crazy Taxi.
Okay.
And Golden Axe.
Dude, they had a Golden Axe game in production, and they canceled it. Yeah. They even released a playable demo of it titled Golden Axed, and apparently the people who worked on it were pissed about that.
Golden Axed,
like, oh, you canceled our game, but then
that's better than abandoned.
But then you released a demo of what you didn't let us to finish to show people what they could have had.
That is really strange.
I'd be pissed about that too.
That is really weird. I wonder what the thought process was.
I have no idea. It's one of the strangest things I've ever seen.
All right. So I'm on 5. Okay. This one's a little weird. I don't know how they would make this game, or like what it would look like, or anything like that.
That's part of the fun.
I just kind of want to see what they would do with this, because it's really kind of the first MOBA.
Okay.
Future Cop, LAPD, PlayStation 1.
Oh yeah.
So it had a single player campaign where you were on your
robot.
robot slash police car that transforms.
Yep.
But the real appeal of that game was the multiplayer, where you had split screen multiplayer, 1-on-1, and you each had a base that was feeding tanks towards the other base, and your objective was to get those tanks into the base of the opposing enemy to take its life bar down, basically.
Yeah.
So a MOBA.
Yeah.
Before there was MOBAs.
Yeah.
And it was really fun. I still have a copy of it to this day.
Yeah, we could tune into Twitch to watch Future Cop LAPD esports.
Yeah, it's a great game. I love it. It. Very few people know about it, and maybe rightfully so. I don't think the single player campaign was all that good.
I've never played it, but it's stared me in the face over the years, and I've always thought I should check out and see what that's like one of these days. When I was looking through lists of games to make this list, I saw it and I was like, "Oh yeah, that."
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a game that I'm not going to tell anybody it's a 10 out of 10 game, but I can tell you
maybe they could make it into one.
They can make it into one, and I spent a lot of hours playing this game.
Yeah.
Again, not the single player. Single player kind of sucked.
Yeah.
But the multiplayer was fantastic. It was all about, should I go attack the player right now, or should I go protect my tanks, or should I go, spend my money on super tanks to get into the base? It was a lot of fun, and transforming between the car and the robot was always cool. It was just cool to transform. Transforming is fun.
Yeah, find me a game where transforming robots aren't fun.
Exactly.
Except maybe that Famicom Transformers game. There's an entire video game nerd episode about that one.
Oh, good lord, yeah.
But
don't.
Yeah, there's a reason we didn't get that one here.
Yeah, exactly. All right, number 6.
Yes. So I got one that I think is underrated and I think would be cool. This is a Super Nintendo game that I didn't play back in the day. It was one that I discovered, going back to the library. It's a pretty interesting game. It is called Evo: The Search for Eden.
Rings a bell.
This is a game in which you start out as a primordial life form, and you basically have to fight your way through stages, eating other creatures to gain points.
There's dinosaurs in that game, right?
And you evolve. It's kind of like Spore before Spore was a thing. And
if Spore was good.
Well, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
But you go through and you unlock different body parts that provide different types of attacks. Like if you get a horn, you can dash into enemies to do damage, which you can dash without the horn, but it won't do damage. You just run into the enemy. So different body parts gives you different types of attacks. And you move through different eras of Earth's history. And so like the dinosaurs, that's a thing that you do. Early mammals is a thing that you do. Like there's all these different eras. It's a side-scrolling platformer action RPG where you customize your character with not weapons but body parts.
I think it looks pretty good. Actually, I'm looking at the screenshots.
Yeah, I think you could remake that into something really fun. I mean, it's already really fun.
The T-Rexes look like they're straight ripped from Joe and Mac.
Yeah, I know.
I wonder if it's the same developer.
The game has a very comedic tone to it. Yeah. So yeah, it is gonna kind of look like Joe and Mac. You're gonna have lots of big eyes with like the anime tear coming down when you get hit, that kind of stuff.
Oh yeah, that is very Joe and Mac. Huh. Interesting.
Yep. Cool. Which is not on my list, but I considered putting it there.
Joe and Mac?
Yeah.
Yeah, those are honestly not great games. I've gone back to play them and they're so sluggish.
They're not great, but they're also,
not Contra.
They're also kind of weirdly fun in a way that I don't know how to explain.
Yeah, they're very hard too.
Yeah.
All right, my number 6. Man, this is tough. You know what? I'm going to get my last old one out of the way, just in case it's on your list.
Okay.
Donkey Kong Country 1 and 2.
Huh? Okay.
So I really liked the Donkey Kong Country Returns games.
Yeah.
I thought Tropical Freeze was a little too difficult.
Yeah.
Which is crazy for a Nintendo game. It's very hard. I never beat it. But the first Returns game was really good. So if they could somehow get a better art style, because I'm not a fan of the art style of those games. They're fine for what they are.
Yeah.
But if you could just literally take level for level, stage by stage, boss for boss, Donkey Kong Country 1 and 2, and HDify those visuals, and
I wonder if they still have the original assets, like those old 3D models. They
maybe.
might, because I mean, a lot of they still have the uncompressed voiceover from Star Fox 64. That got out in that huge Nintendo leak from a while ago. So they might still have like the SGI workstation models for the Donkey Kong Country games. Who knows?
I'd love to see it. 1 and 2 are some of the best platformers of all time.
Yeah, 3's not bad either, but
yeah, I mean,
they tried to do a lot in that game, and I don't think it all hit.
And it featured an ape in a diaper, basically.
Yeah, I mean, he's in a onesie, but he was a baby. Yeah.
3 didn't hit for me. 1 and 2 are just perfect. Perfect games. 2 especially.
3 would be dramatically improved by not having to go through different modes of travel on the world map. You have to get into like the boat just to go across a lake. Like ultimately, it's just you're just going from point A to point B to point C. I don't see why they have to make it so fancy, because it wasn't like that in the first 2. Getting around the world map was really quick.
Yep. Yeah, I there's so many cool ways that they could do. They could update some of that stuff in those games. So yeah, I would love to see them remake that, but hopefully not in the same. Like I said, not in that same Country Returns style of
it's not
visual.
It doesn't quite look the same.
Yeah, it's fine for what it is. Like I didn't think it was ugly, but something a little bit more akin to the originals.
The originals had a very contrasty art style. There was a lot of bright saturated colors contrasted with very dark elements of
especially
the
background. In the second
one. Yeah. And I'm not just talking about like the minecart stages that every game was legally required to have back then, as with also water levels, ice levels, and lava levels, which all of those games have. No, they really played with light and shadow a lot in those games, probably because of the color palette limitations of the NES, or the Super Nintendo, I should say.
Yep.
And I think the games look better for it. Like I really love that high contrast look. They did a lot with
gorgeous games
with
and some of the best soundtracks of all time.
Oh my god, yes. Yep. Amazing music.
Gangplank Galleon from the first one.
Yeah, or what is it? Aquatic Ambience, the underwater music.
Yeah. Sticker Brush Symphony from the second one. That's
great soundtrack.
Absolutely. All right, 7.
7. Okay. I still got a number to choose from here. I'm gonna go with another Sega game, Burning Rangers from the Saturn.
This one I'm not familiar with. I'm gonna
this. Oh, dude.
Dreamcast, you said?
Sega Saturn.
Oh, Sega Saturn. Sorry.
It has Daytona has that theme song. Burning Rangers has a theme song sung by the same singer.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It's great. It is a futuristic anime firefighting game where you play as firefighters in kind of like Iron Man, like tech suits, going into burning buildings and rescuing people.
I like that idea. That sounds cool.
It's the kind of thing that would definitely benefit from better 3D capabilities than the Saturn.
Ooh, yeah, it's kind of ugly.
Yeah, but yeah, like I think it could be awesome. Yeah. You get like movement tech in there.
What's the wings?
Oh,
is that a suit of some kind? Or?
Yeah, it's part of like the suit design. I think if you got like, sort of like, again, like Prince of Persia Sands of Time style platforming in there, you could do some really cool stuff with that game. Doing that kind of thing, like the very anime sci-fi acrobatics in a burning building, but with good graphics. I think that'd be a lot of fun to play.
especially with what they can do with fire visuals these days,
oh
and
my
like
god,
destructibility and stuff.
yeah,
Really
yeah.
cool.
Like having the level falling apart around you. I mean, there is some of that in the original game. Like sometimes like floors will like break out or stuff like that. But something much more dynamic, I think, could make for a really interesting challenge.
100%.
And giving you the controls, because it's a 3D game on the Saturn, so the controls are kind of
yeah.
Giving you more modern controls, a better camera control, that kind of stuff. Like just basically correcting for all the limitations and shortcomings of the tech of that day, which especially on the Saturn is for 3D.
Rough console.
Yeah, not a good system for 3D. And anybody who knows anything about the Saturn's hardware will know why that is. It's a little bit inside baseball, but it's not built for 3D. It's just not.
It's just not.
So
it was like a step between 2D and 3D.
It uses its 2D hardware to fake 3D.
Okay. Super Nintendo Chip FX style,
almost like that. Like the transformation, like the rotating and scaling. Imagine doing that for every texture as a 2D image, but manipulating it to look like a 3D polygon.
Oh, good lord!
It's like instead of folding paper to make origami, imagine cutting out a bunch of little tiny paper squares and gluing them together. And that's how you do your 3D model.
More complicated.
Yeah, way more complicated than it needs to be. And also means that you have to build your models out of quads instead of triangles, which is what everything else was using. So that's why a lot of 3D games didn't end up on the Saturn, because they would have had to rebuild all their assets.
Man, Sega's a weird company.
I don't think they foresaw how quickly 3D would become a thing in the home. I think
so they were trying to adapt to the times, basically.
I think they said this is going to be the last 2D generation, and 3D will catch on in the next one. So let's make the most powerful 2D system, and then
3D took off with the
3D took off earlier than they expected, and they didn't have an answer for that. Because I mean, Sega had been doing some really impressive stuff with 3D in the arcade, like Virtua Racing, Virtua Cop, Virtua Fighter, Daytona USA. Lots of really impressive 3D games in the early 90s. But
did they make? I'm having a brain fart moment. Did they make the Jaguar?
No, that's Atari.
And the Lynx was Atari, right?
Yeah. Lynx, not a bad system. Actually, not a bad system, but I mean,
rest in peace, Atari.
Yeah, well, yeah, rest in pieces that got bought up by Infogrames. Yeah, and I mean, the Lynx was never going to succeed against the Game Boy. No. It just doesn't have the market penetration. But some good games on there.
Yeah, for sure. I think they do like Neo Geo collections and stuff on the eShops. So I'm sure they do a. Well, maybe they don't do a Lynx.
I don't think they do a Lynx, but they should. There are some all right games on the Lynx. So Burning Rangers, yeah, I think that should get a remake.
All right. My number 7. Yeah, the rest of my stuff is.
I just realized that I have 2 firefighting games on this list.
Do you?
Yeah. What a weird crossover.
I was going to ask you, I don't think you were on the episode where I talked about Nuclear Blaze.
No.
A demo came out for it recently. It's a 2D firefighting game.
Okay.
Side scroller.
Okay.
With like really cool pixel art graphics. And it was a really short demo, so I didn't really get to experience a whole lot about it.
I'm gonna look that up right now.
It's very cheap. I keep trying to convince myself to pick it up because I'm like, ooh, it's only $13.
Ooh, that's cheap. Not bad.
Yeah, but I feel like it's probably going to be one of those games that goes on sale for like $5.
Yeah, I see.
But it was really cool. I don't know. I'll go into it another time, but it looks good.
Yeah, this looks kind of neat.
I thought about it when you were talking about the firefighting Burning Rangers game.
Yeah.
What do I go with here? I'm not going with that one. I'm gonna cross other ones I'm not gonna go with because. So
and we can talk about the ones that we left off.
Didn't do at the end. Yeah,
because it's still fun to compare notes.
I'll highlight that one. Yeah, I'm gonna go with one that's in my heart that I really want, and it's another game that's locked to a console that the only way to play it is if you have that console.
Good reason to do a remake.
Perfect reason. That game is probably not a game anyone's heard of before. It's called Folklore. It is for the PlayStation 3, which is why it's locked to that console, because they can't port shit off that thing. It is a third-person sort of noir fantasy third-person action RPG. It's very, very unique, in which you hunt down these monsters and creatures that are kind of almost ghostly creature. Like, having a hard time explaining it. It's very it's
I'm
that
looking
kind of
at the IGN trailer from 13 years ago, and it's almost all text.
Yeah, it's not a good trailer. I think that may have been why the game failed. I think it was a launch title for the PS3, or a launch window. But basically, the gameplay loop is that you defeat creatures, and when you defeat a creature, you gain the ability to summon it as an attack. So if you take out, let's say if it was Pokemon, if I took out a Pikachu, I'd be able to throw Thunderbolts.
Yeah.
And you would see an image of Pikachu throwing a Thunderbolt as an attack, and you basically
it's like the dragon magic in Elden Ring, where you temporarily conjure a dragon head to breathe fire.
Yeah, as a weapon.
Yeah.
So like some of the enemies would do like a melee attack kind of a weapon. Some of them would shoot fireballs. Some would it was a big variety of them, and you had to assign them to your face buttons.
Yeah.
So triangle, circle, cross, and square would each be a different creature that you've assigned, and each one would have a different move. And then certain enemies would be weak against certain other creatures, so you'd always have to use, almost like Pokemon. But the art style in that game was so cool, and the ambiance of it was like a big mystery. And man, underrated, undervalued, so good.
Sounds cool.
Stuck on that console. So I could have said it could just remaster it, but just remake that bad boy. It's such a cool idea.
For the amount of effort it would take, they probably might as well just
just remake that bad boy. It's so good. I wish I could play it right now, but because it's stuck on the PS3,
that'd make for a really boring podcast.
Yeah,
you're just going, oh man,
you're just seeing me in the background.
Yeah.
I'll just talk to myself.
Yeah, it suddenly became a let's play.
Yeah, exactly. Where you can't hear me.
Yeah. You have to like lean over and shout over to the microphone.
Hey, this is folklore. Yeah, great game though, man. Highly recommend that to anybody who hasn't played it. If you can find a way to play it, that's the thing. I don't even think it's on the cloud streaming PS3 service on.
I'll see if I can emulate it. Maybe. PS3 emulation is still a bit shaky, but I was able to play Demon's Souls that way. So.
There you go. Although that got a remake too.
I got a remake too, but it's not on PC.
Just remake, by the way. All right, that was my 7. What's your 8?
Oh, I got a few good ones here. I don't know which one to go with.
Yeah, I'm running low.
Yeah. Fuck it. Here's one that's purely for fun. Buck Bumble.
Oh yeah. Buck Bumble.
A game that is half remembered for its theme song.
Yep, absolutely. I played like the first level of that, and then I just hung out on the main menu screen.
It's a great song.
Yeah, it is.
It's a great song. This is another one that's like Toy Commander, except in this year like a robot cyborg bumblebee.
Was it N64?
Yes.
Yeah.
So it again, the levels are just like a garden, a forest, like regular location stuff, but from the size of a very small thing. And you fly around and you shoot things. So it's, again, very much like Toy Commander. But I think they should remake Toy Commander, so I think they should remake Buck Bumble.
I definitely agree with you.
There's really not that much to say, because everything I could say about it, I said about Toy Commander.
$1 million says they probably have a bee simulator game.
Yeah, probably.
But you're right.
I believe that's Argonaut who made that game, which is also the people who co-developed Star Fox. Let me look that up real quick. I'm
that sounds right.
99% sure it's Argonaut. Yes, it was.
There you go.
Which is also why it takes place in the UK.
I can picture that game being really good. Have you been following the game called Empire of Ants?
No, I haven't.
So it's a game where you play as an ant that runs an ant colony and an army of ants, and it's running on the Unreal 5 engine.
Okay.
So the environment looks dead real.
Yeah.
The ants look pretty good too.
So it's like modern day sim ant.
No, it's more like a third person. It's almost like Pikmin.
Oh, okay.
Where you're like
which
an
is
ant
based on
commanding other
ants.
ants. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
I would check out a trailer for it. It looks good. It's on my list to keep an eye on. It's very interesting.
Okay. So I unfortunately have bad news about Buck Bumble. It's published by Ubisoft.
Really?
So I'm not sure how well that would do if they tried to do it today. It would
They'd make it an open world game.
Yeah, you'd have to there'd be a lot of towers and collectibles and
go to this flower.
Yeah.
Get the nectar.
Yeah. Convert this enemy hive into your hive.
Yes.
I mean, I'll be real, that wouldn't even be a bad idea. But
it wouldn't be. They can apply that.
I hate how well that formula works because I really want to be like, oh, every game is the same, and they are, but they're also like not bad.
It's so funny how they I think it was Far Cry 3 that started that, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And then they were like, we can apply this to Assassin's Creed. We can apply this to Avatar. We can.
Yeah.
It's like every game they make now.
Yeah.
But they're all good games.
Yeah,
they're
not bad.
They're just predictable.
They're just the same thing over and over again, and it's like
it's the same game with a different coat.
Yeah, if they didn't come out so often, I might be more receptive to that. But they just keep putting them out. No, you don't have any time to breathe or do anything else.
No.
All right.
Okay. That was your 8, right? Crap! I only have 2 left. I got to pick 2 from this list. Oh. That's hurting. Okay. Well, I have to go with one of my favorite games of all time, Eternal Darkness.
Oh,
Sanity's Requiem.
Yeah.
Another game. A lot of my games are just trapped on a specific console. I don't know if you've noticed this.
Yeah.
This is another game that's exclusive to GameCube.
Such a great game, too.
Created by Silicon Knights, the now defunct Silicon Knights. I know they tried to create a spiritual successor to the game at one point with a Kickstarter, and it failed miserably.
Yeah. People probably weren't lining up to give Dennis Dyack money after Too Human.
No, man. What a train wreck
what was that, X-Men Destiny? That X-Men game that they did?
Oh, yeah. I don't that guy got super lucky with Eternal Darkness. Yeah. Super lucky. I don't know what happened.
Yeah, it's their best game.
Oh, 100%. That game is
and that's not because Too Human and X-Men Destiny were trash. It's because Eternal Darkness is really good because they also made the original Legacy of Kain, and they did the Metal Gear Solid remake, which
Twin Snakes, right?
Yeah, Twin Snakes, which technically I don't know if that even counts because that's like not their game originally. They're remaking it, but I mean
they made it though.
I'll give them half and half for that.
Yeah.
Not everybody likes the Twin Snakes. I'm fine with it. People are like, "Oh, it's too over the top," and I'm like, "Really? You think
it's Metal Gear Solid?"
Think the game where the guy who reads your memory card and tells you what other Konami games is suddenly too over the top?
Yeah.
You think the game where the guy
shits himself constantly?
The guy who shoots the fucking ravens out of the tattoo on his forehead. Oh no, let's not mess with the sanctity of that game. Yeah. Let's not make that goofy.
Yeah, went overboard with Twin Snakes.
Yeah.
Okay.
The fucking flipping over a door, back flipping over a rocket. That's too much.
Getting chased by ghosts.
Yeah. Oh my god.
Yeah. Eternal Darkness is one of the best horror games of all time. You have to beat it 3 times in order to get the full story, which is really cool.
Dude, I almost did that, but then I burned out on the last one.
Yeah,
I know that I've seen the ending on YouTube. It's just an extra cinematic, but
yeah, it's not super worth it. But
yeah,
the fact that if you want to replay it 3 times, gives you at least a little bit of a bonus incentive to do so.
Yep.
Also, I think they change up some of the stuff than when you play them.
Yeah, some of the enemies are a little bit different.
Yeah, and some of like not the insanity effects, but some of like the layouts change and like the puzzle, like you do things in a different order
depending on which god you're opposing.
Yeah, I remember I played it the second time and I tried to do the same things in the same order, and I went to the door and the door that wasn't locked before was now locked, and I'm like, huh.
Yeah, they change little things here and there.
Yeah, kind of cool.
I'm glad you brought that up because there's a thing that game does where it's also clearly stuff had to be cut. because some of the characters in that game, they don't find the Tome of Eternal Darkness as part of their story. They just go through a door and they're suddenly teleported to a room with like screaming faces on the ground, and there's a hand that opens up and has the book, and they never acknowledge that. I think I talked about this before. They never acknowledge that. They never go, "Oh my God, what is this?" It's just that's how they get the book.
Just happens.
It just happens, and there's no acknowledgement of it, and that's very clearly like we had to cut stuff for time.
Yeah, it's not a perfect game by any stretch. It is still Silicon Knights. They're not perfect, but I can see. I mean, the insanity effects.
Yeah.
Modernized. I can just
and there were some really good ones. So they have the usual stuff, like the paintings change to horrifying images, blood drips down the walls, all that stuff. The real insanity effects, though, are the ones that mess with the player.
Oh yeah.
And there's
and it worked.
Oh God, did it work? I never thought that there would be an insanity effect during the menu, but I went to save my game with low sanity, and it said now formatting memory card, and I was like,
I got that too.
Like there was like 3 seconds there
where you're freaking out.
I nearly rocketed through the ceiling from shitting myself so hard.
I got the worst one. I don't know if we were still like talking when I played this game, because you may not remember the story.
Yeah, because like because we went. This is some background information for our listeners. We went to different high schools. We went to the same elementary school. We lived like down the street from each other.
Yeah, our lives do this.
Yeah. And we there have been periods where we're like, oh, we should get together and play some games, and we do that, and then adult life comes up, and we just don't have the time to hang out in person. So there's places where we've played a bunch of games together, and then where we just haven't played stuff together.
Yeah, and I think the GameCube era was when we were a part of that point.
Yeah, we didn't play a lot.
So it would have been like what, 2002, 2003.
Yeah, right around there.
In high school.
Yeah, living on, and like we moved and lived on different ends of the city, and
you were
yeah.
I was gonna say where you were. Bad idea. On the internet.
Yeah.
so yeah, I don't think I ever told you this story, but I got the worst insanity effect because I started to like the insanity effects.
They're fun.
So I let they're fun. I just let it go.
I would do that too, just to see.
I was like, screw it, these are cool.
I decided on one of my playthroughs, I'm gonna recover sanity effects when I'm going through like the character stories. I'm gonna let Alex's sanity stay wherever it falls, to like, oh, the book is making her crazier, because her sanity goes down after every chapter, but you can heal it. So I was like, what if I do a playthrough where I don't do that?
Just don't heal it.
Yeah, and that was fun. But anyway, sorry, continue.
Yeah. So I got the worst one. But so in the worst insanity effect I got in that game was my GameCube shut down, and it gave me like an error screen of some kind.
Okay.
And this particular one was a little bit controversial because it shuts down your GameCube so that you can't play it for 24 hours.
Really?
So I couldn't play it. It wouldn't work. It would turn on, and it would immediately, if you took the disc out, it would fix it. But I never thought to do that. So if you take the disc out, it won't do it. I've
never seen or even heard of this one.
Yeah. So the disc, if you keep the disc in, it won't let you play anything. Some error message comes up. I can't remember specific. I think it was like the blue screen of death, basically.
It was like a system, like a
system failure. Yeah, something.
But like it's done to look like a GameCube system message.
Yeah. It's like it's a very clear, like it looks official. So I was like, shit, my GameCube died.
Yeah.
And I didn't give it any time. I immediately went up to my mom and I was like, my GameCube died. And I think we had just purchased it like within 30 days.
Oh.
So I went back to the store with the GameCube and was like, it's dead. And they were like, that's weird. We haven't had any returns yet. So they plugged it in with the game still in the GameCube.
Oh.
And it wouldn't boot up. And they're like, huh, well, we'll get you a new one. So they took the game, they get the game disc out after they unplugged it. They gave me the game back, and then I took it home with the new GameCube, plugged it in, and it worked. And of course, back then we had memory cards, so I had their save file, and it worked just fine.
Oh.
And then later on, I looked it up in like message boards back then.
Yeah.
And there was another person who had that same problem, and they were like, "Oh yeah, you just wait 24 hours and it starts working again."
I can't believe.
I was like, "Holy shit!"
I can't believe that passed compliance.
I know.
Like, I mean,
I'm wondering if they didn't tell anybody. It's Silicon Knights. They may have just been like, you know what?
Maybe, like, because that is like that kind of thing. I mean, or maybe they just weren't as strict about it back then. That kind of thing would never clear compliance.
Oh no,
today.
To brick your console for
that's just no.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite gaming stories.
And that's why the memory card thing had me shitting myself so hard, because I never in a million years thought that they would touch like official GameCube UI or functionality or anything. Like I always assumed that was off, because I'd seen the like, the volume goes down or the video signal cuts out. Yeah. No. I never thought that they would touch actual GameCube UI stuff. I thought that was off limits, and it wasn't. And
I don't know if it actually touched the GameCube UI or if it just detects the game disc in the drive and just immediately says you can't play it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it just puts up like a splash screen. Maybe it would have to interact with the UI in order to put that splash screen up, but yeah, I mean, I find it so hilarious that I got a free new GameCube out of it, and it would have not happened had I just taken the disc out.
Yeah,
never occurred to me.
Probably some kind of save file flag, like they do with Animal Crossing, so they know that if you didn't save, like if you reset the system, something like that. Probably that.
Why it let me play on a different GameCube, I'm not entirely sure.
Probably writes the GameCube serial number to the save file,
or it had something to do with the in-game clock or something like that.
Something like that, yeah.
But I thought, that's one of my favorites.
That's insane. I've never heard of that before.
So good.
That's fucking crazy.
I found out later and told my mom, and she's like, "So we got a brand new GameCube when we didn't have to, and they didn't know that." I'm like, apparently.
God, I can't believe they wouldn't tell retailers about that.
Crazy, right?
Like, so they could just explain it to you.
The only thing I can really think of is that the percentage chance of it actually happening was like
probably very low,
like 0.2% or something crazy like that. Yeah. So very few people experienced it, but couldn't believe it.
That's nuts.
Couldn't believe it. All right, what's your 9?
Yes, it'll be number 9. I gotta be selective about this.
Is it 9 or 10? Or 9 or 10?
I'm on 9.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8. Okay.
Ooh, I'm gonna say Star Tropics.
Oh snap! Yeah.
Yeah. Fun little NES first party game from Nintendo. Kind of Zelda-like, but not entirely. I think they could.
Maybe I'm thinking of a different game. Let me look that up.
The one with the kid on the island and the yo-yo, and you have to dip the piece of paper in the water.
I don't know why I was thinking of like a city builder for some strange reason.
No.
Oh, Tropico.
Oh yeah, Tropico. Yeah, the that like Cuba game.
Yeah, the Cuba city builder game.
Yeah, Star Tropics. I just think that Nintendo, like, I look at what they're doing with their art lately, and I think they could do like a really, really cool looking Star Tropics remake. It's not a super long game, it's not a super complex game. But it's, for the time it was by the standards of the NES, it was fairly long and fairly complex.
Yeah. I remember this game.
And I think it could be, they're bringing Famicom Detective Club back. They already remade the first Famicom Detective Club game. Why not do this one? They could do that.
Didn't it have like a fire boss in it with like spinning fire things like from Mario?
It might have. It's been a while since I played it, but
it was a good game though.
But
I think they could totally make a cool, new visual style of that game for sure.
Yeah.
My number 9. I'm down to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have 6 to pick from, and I can only pick 2.
It's getting tough.
It is getting tough. But I am gonna mention them at the end. We won't talk about them, but I'll mention the ones that I didn't pick at the end. I'm gonna go with one of my top 3 games of all time that I think if it was given a remake, especially with the visuals of like Final Fantasy 16, that this would just be and a better translation would be better, and that's Final Fantasy 10. It's my favorite Final Fantasy game.
Yes,
It's one of my favorite games of all time. I think I've sunk 300, 400 hours into it. I do like all the side quests and the arena stuff and all, like getting them legendary weapons, all that craziness. It's so good. I've played the HD remaster and it's really good, but it definitely shows some of the, the jagged edges of the visuals and some of the jagged edges of the translation. The infamous ha 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 scene.
Well, that's supposed to be really weird.
Ugh. They could westernize some of that stuff. I think Final Fantasy 16 doesn't have any of that campy stuff in it. So I think if they really did a good job of that, I mean, the visuals would be. I mean, some of the summons look so good. That gameplay, that battle system was so good. The villain in that game is so good. Man, I could spend an entire episode talking about that game because it's just so, it's near and dear to my heart. I will. That is the last time I played a JRPG that sucked me in. I don't even know if I would call it a true JRPG, honestly.
I mean, it is. But it's just it's very unique amongst Final Fantasy games. There's not really any other. I mean, other than 10-2, I guess, that really looks like that.
Which I don't even. Yeah, I pretend that doesn't exist.
So here's my thing. I would be fine with them doing that game exactly the same way, but make Blitzball not suck, because I fucking quit that game when I had to play Blitzball.
So if you spend a couple of hours putting some time into Blitzball,
oh yeah, spend a couple of hours putting some. Come on,
it does get better and it does get fun once you unlock abilities and your players don't fucking suck. Then it's good. But I agree, the barrier to entry on Blitzball is terrible because it sucks. I have won before on that first game though. Somehow, I don't know how I did, but I did. But you don't actually win. It doesn't let you win. But I won.
Why couldn't it just be Triple Triad?
I wasn't a fan of that one either.
Yeah.
There really isn't any side stuff, like you know what I mean? Like, I'm trying to think of like something that's side
mini game in a Final Fantasy.
In any of the.
The snowboarding in Final Fantasy VII was all right.
I don't even remember that.
If you didn't want to buy cool borders.
Cool borders. Oh my god.
Cool borders.
Oh my god. Yeah. Remember Snowboard Kids?
Oh yeah. There were a lot of snowboarding games around that time.
There was 1080.
I wonder if it has anything to do with it being a new Olympic sport in 1998.
Maybe.
It started showing up in a lot of advertising. I remember snowboarding was suddenly like all the commercials that had people doing extreme sports were suddenly.
Yeah, there was a lot of extreme sports in general.
Yeah.
Well,
that and like Tony Hawk doing the 900 at the X Games.
Yeah, that's true.
Extreme sports really had a moment in the late 90s.
They really did. Yeah. Okay. What's your 10?
My 10. So I got a few that I could do, but I said sometimes the game that needs a remake the most is a bad game, so that you can make it good. So I'm going to end my list with a bad game that
Duke Nukem Forever.
No.
Okay.
No, I just can't. My heart isn't ready to be wounded again.
It's not ready for me either.
That's also why I'm not saying Aliens Colonial Marines.
Oh.
Yeah, just twist the knife a little bit. No.
Nutshot.
I am going for a classic bad game.
Oh.
From the N64.
Quest 64?
Quest 64. I knew you would get it.
Wow.
Quest 64. So I really fell in love with RPGs in the mid-90s. And so I was like, oh man, the N64 is going to have so many of these, right?
Who developed that game? Was it Nintendo?
No. Who developed Quest 64? Let's find out. And
I remember buying that game at a used game shop in Ottawa. What a mistake that was.
Imagineer.
No idea who they're.
Oh, they published the Metabots games.
Oh, so Metabots. I haven't thought about Metabots in ages.
Yeah.
Hold on. I gotta look that up.
I'm looking up games that they've developed or published. They're just under a single category here. in Wikipedia. And yeah, there's a lot of publishing of games. They, I guess, published Lemmings on the Saturn. They published
Lemmings. Wow.
They published the Super Nintendo version of Doom. It looks like
they published it or they developed it.
They published it.
What have they actually developed?
What have they actually developed? That's what I'm struggling to find out, because they're the games they've developed and the games they've published are combined into a single list here. I don't know. I mean, other than Quest 64, I guess.
Maybe that's the only one they actually took a stab at, and they were like, "This isn't for us. We'll stick to publishing."
Yeah, I don't know. Oh my god, they published a lot.
Imagineer.
I'm
Yeah,
struggling to find anything that they've developed other than Quest, because I just wish this list was better formatted, but it's not. Well, maybe I won't be stupid and I'll go look them up on Moby Games, which will probably have a better listing. All right, Moby Games. No, don't. Okay, so I hate this. I click on the Moby Games for my search results, and it takes me to the Wikipedia page for Moby Games instead of the website, which is all right. Imagineer. Let's see what games they developed. Oh God, it doesn't list the difference between developing and publishing either.
Yeah, they don't seem to have a list that's specifically what they developed, because they published Doom.
Yeah,
which is weird.
Yeah, I don't know.
What a weird company.
I don't know. I'm
seeing.
Oh
wait. Oh no, these are published.
Yeah.
Do you guys make games or do you just publish games?
We made that one game.
Yeah, maybe we're right, and then they just they tried once and were like, screw it.
I got it. Wet Tricks, which is actually a good game.
Oh, Wet Tricks. Yeah. That's like it's kind of like Tetris.
Yeah, but you build up water levels.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, that's a game that I like. So
it looks like they also developed a shovelware game for Switch called Fitness Boxing Fist of the North Star.
Oh, wait, Fist of the North Star. Okay, but that would actually be kind of cool. That's a very long-running anime franchise about a guy who punches people and then they explode. They did a Fist of the North Star Yakuza spin-off.
Oh, hold on. I think I found a list of developed games. Here we go. All right. Let's see. I'm looking for anything noteworthy. Fighter's Destiny.
Okay.
N64.
Yeah.
Quest 64.
Yeah.
Oh, they made the Super Nintendo port of SimAnt.
Okay.
And SimCity 2000.
That's an okay port. Not the best, but it's okay. There's only so much you could do with SimCity 2000 on the Super Nintendo. It's a little demanding.
Yeah, that's it. So they really haven't.
They're primarily a publisher.
They're primarily. I mean, there's a lot on here, but like they're all mostly stuff I've never heard of. Big Mountain 2000, L Tales Monsters, Quest Fantasy Challenge, Holy Magic Century, GT 64.
Yeah.
Snow Speeder. A Mahjong game, virtual open tennis, virtual volleyball. These are Sega Saturn games.
Yeah.
Nothing good.
But anyway, so I was waiting for the N64 to get its great big RPG, and I got 2 RPGs, and Quest 64 was one of them. And neither of those RPGs were amazing. Eidon Chronicles: The First Mage was kind of okay.
Yeah.
But Summoner was better.
Summoner just came out on the PlayStation Plus, the PlayStation 2 Classics.
Yeah. We talked about that, actually. I remember we talked about that a little bit, and you mentioned that. But Quest 64 is yet another game that was so obviously affected by cutbacks during development.
Oh, yeah.
And you can, God, it's really, really obvious in this one. It's really clear that there was supposed to be a party. Instead of just playing as a single character. I would love to see that game get another shot, but be good. because the battle system was kind of interesting. It wasn't just like Final Fantasy VII plays a lot like Final Fantasy VI, turn-based battles. Quest 64 actually had you moving around on the battlefield. It would let you like move a certain distance and attack, but it wasn't like XCOM where it's like you can go this many tiles. There was they had some kind of like calculation to see how like what the radius you could go from your current position, and I guess they like factored in things like elevation of the terrain and stuff. All of this is to say they built a pretty complex battle system for what ultimately ended up being a very simple game. I would just love to see that idea come to its proper fruition.
A remake of what it could have been.
Yeah, I think that's probably the best way to do a remake, is to focus on what it could have been instead of what it ended up having to be.
That's a good pick. That's a good one. I never even thought of that, or coming at it from that angle. That's a good idea. That might be a good idea for another list. Bad games that could have been great.
Yeah,
that's it. There's
games that deserve a second shot.
Yeah. Okay. I will be adding that to our list. That's a good idea. All right. My last one will be, Dark Cloud for PS2.
Okay.
Or Dark Cloud 2, whatever. A remake of one of them.
Level 5.
Level 5, third-person action dungeon crawler and town rebuilder sim.
Yep. That's not the only time they've done that.
Such a cool idea. And Dark Clouds, I didn't play the second one, I don't think, as much, but the first one I played a lot, and I just have great memories of it, and I'm kind of surprised that the series just kind of died.
Yeah.
They made 2, and then they were like, meh.
Yeah.
And neither of them, it's not like the second one was a bad game.
No.
So I don't know what happened there, but
that seems to be a thing that they do. Level 5, they make a few games and then they just move on to something else. From Software is kind of like that as well.
Yep.
Like that's part of the reason why it was such a big deal that they came back and made a new Armored Core.
Armored Core, yeah, that's right. All right, before we move on to Video Game 20 questions, let's just round off what we didn't include in our list.
Should I go through mine?
Just spew them out.
All right, I had Crystalis from the NES, kind of a Zelda-like game. Has different elemental swords with different abilities. Got a conversion for the Game Boy Color, but NES version's a little bit better. I think it could be fun. Next up, I had Deja Vu, which is you remember Shadowgate, right? Mm-hmm. Deja Vu is the film noir Shadowgate. Okay. And I think it'd be fun. It would be a little bit difficult because you'd already know the solutions to a lot of stuff, but that doesn't necessarily mean it wouldn't be interesting, because they did do a Shadowgate remake a few years ago. Yes, actually, probably about 10 years ago now. And it is similar to the original, but it's not the same. Some of the stuff is a little bit different, and it forces you to think about things differently instead of just saying, I'll just use the same solution from the original. They teased doing Shadowgate 64 because they teased the character from Shadowgate 64 at the end of that game, and then nothing has come of it.
No.
So I think the likelihood is low, but I wouldn't say no to a Deja Vu remake. I obviously wouldn't say no to a sequel. They actually did make a sequel that never came out on the NES. It did come out on the Game Boy Color, and it did come out on the Apple II and the Macintosh and Windows, because that's where those games are originally from. They're originally the Mac Venture games. So there's Deja Vu 2, Lost in Las Vegas, Shadowgate, and The Uninvited. And I honestly could have put The Uninvited on there as well, but I mean, it's a haunted house game. I think a detective game is somewhat less generic. I guess we do have like LA Noire and stuff, but Ace Harding, classic.
Do more.
Wake up in a men's room toilet having been drugged. Kind of makes me think of like the good parts of Indigo Prophecy.
Good parts.
Yeah. Before that game, well,
turned into the Matrix.
Yeah. What the Quantic Dream games always seem to do at some point.
Detroit was good.
Detroit was their least bad game. but it still was.
I would even say it's good. I would even say it's great.
It was mostly good. It was more good than bad, but the Marcus stuff went poorly. The moment where so there's a moment in that game where you're doing the holographic graffiti or whatever, and one of the things you can spray is "I have a dream." I'm like, guys, I get it.
I have a dream.
I get it, but could you not have come up like it really speaks,
a little on the nose.
It really speaks to like kind of giving up in the writing department for a game where writing is supposed to be the strong suit. You can't figure out anything other than to quote Martin Luther King. Like, come on. So next up, I had The Immortal, which is look, I really hate to say this is the Dark Souls of this. This game is kind of the Dark Souls of the NES. This is a game in which you can get one hit killed in the first room. It is a difficult game that is meant to be difficult.
Side scroller?
No, isometric.
Oh, interesting.
And the combat goes into a actually extremely highly detailed battle sequence with very, very large character sprites. That is almost like a rock, paper, scissors, kind of like you slash this way or that way, and they can dodge this way or that way. And if they do the correct dodge for your attack, you miss. And if you do the correct dodge for their attack, they miss. But it's done in real time, so it feels just like a kind of a slap fight almost, which maybe isn't the most exciting thing in the world, but for the NES, it was a big deal.
Yeah.
I think they could, like, I look at The Immortal and I think of wandering around dark hallways in Demon Souls and in Dark Souls, kind of like, very carefully surveying the terrain around me so that I don't step onto some kind of trap or something. I think that they could do The Immortal really well as a modern game. And I was very close to picking it, but some of the others I just felt like I had to get out there,
Yeah.
The Immortal is also on a lot of stuff. It's been ported to... It's one of those games that was on everything.
It's available everywhere.
It's on the NES. It's on the Genesis. It's on like every home computer platform of the day. There's a DOS version. There's an Amiga version. There's like a Macintosh version. It was on everything. Next up, I had Hagane, which is a Super Nintendo game that I was introduced to many years after the Super Nintendo ran its course. It's kind of like Ninja Gaiden Black, but if it was a side-scroller. It is an action game that has a lot of options for you to do, to the point where it's kind of overwhelming how many attacks and abilities you have. I still need to properly play through that game. I think you could do a Bayonetta kind of thing with it. But also, we have Ninja Gaiden Black, so that's why I said, ultimately, I'm going to go with something else. I said that I had another firefighting game. I have the Ignition Factor.
I remember that one.
Which was a Jalico game. People who made Peacekeepers. And there's even a Peacekeepers. There's even a Peacekeepers Easter egg in one of the levels. There's a secret level in that game where you go to put out a fire at the company that's doing all the secret mutant experiments from the Peacekeepers, and you can see one of the Peacekeepers characters fighting one of the mutants in a room that you can't access.
I may have just played Peacekeepers yesterday.
Well,
like 5 minutes.
I played Brute Force for about 5 minutes, so
there you go.
The two games will never ever shut up about. Dude, we need to get like Netlink emulation going on that. How sick would that be?
That would be cool.
Yeah. And it's a cool game. I like it a lot. I've played the Ignition Factor to completion like 2 or 3 times at least. But I went with Burning Rangers because Burning Rangers is the anime cyborg firefighting game, which feels like it would be better suited for a remake. But the Ignition Factor would be pretty cool as well. I do not have The Fireman, which is another Super Nintendo firefighting game on my list. I stuck with the Ignition Factor.
Only so much room.
Yeah, there's only so many firefighting games I could put on here. Comic Zone, beat 'em up from the Genesis. Not the kind of game that I would say is the world is chomping at the bit for. But like the punching enemies so hard that they fly into another comic book panel, I think that'd be cool in 3D. But the thing is, I've said I think this would be really cool if you did it with modern tech for a lot of games on my list. So I was like, I'm just going to use the same reasoning if I bring up Comic Zone again. So
even if they just kept it 2D, they could really make that stunning looking.
Yeah. And then the last one I had, this is a bit of a weird one, Cyborg Justice. This was
I don't remember that one.
This is a Genesis beat 'em up in which you crash land on a planet and your brain is harvested and put into a machine and you are enslaved, but you break free and you try to escape the cyborg enslavement planet. And the gimmick to this game is that you have different cyborg body parts that you can select. And if you need to change body parts in the middle of a level, you can do so by tearing the pieces off your enemies who are also cyborgs.
That's weird.
It's weird. It's kind of neat. It is also incredibly hard. Because you know how beat 'em up games, if you don't advance after beating the enemies, they give you like the arrow to say, keep going.
Keep going. Go.
This game shoots missiles at you. Oh. That's the encouragement it uses.
Don't stop.
Yeah, don't stop. And by the way, even if you keep moving, the countdown for those missiles to appear is still ticking down. So you better haul ass to the next enemy encounter. Or
gamers with timers, or games with timers, I should say.
And that was the last of those that didn't make my top 10.
Okay. I'll run through mine. Most of mine don't need explanation, but we'll go into them real quick.
Yeah.
So Burnout 3 Takedown.
Oh yeah.
I could have gone with just a sequel, but Burnout 3 Takedown is like the perfect arcade racing game.
Yeah. Honestly, like the reason I didn't put that on my list is because I don't even need a remake. I'll just fucking play the original. Yeah,
the original is really good. I can foresee modern technology making that game look so much better.
Oh and god, yeah.
The destruction and the crashes and the slow-mo.
But they're good enough as they are, but you're right, they could be better.
It could just be amazing. Yeah. And I'm just kind of salty that Criterion has been relegated to Need for Speed.
Oh man, yeah. So there's another. Yeah, you made me sad.
Misused company.
Oh, and the tech that they developed the middleware that was used for so many PS2 games. Like the GTA.
Criterion's amazing.
The GTA games are built on their middleware.
Wow.
So many games. What was it? Oh Jesus! Hold on a second. It's on the tip of my tongue. But it's going to be faster if I just look it up.
I think their last game before they got moved to Need for Speed was Burnout Revenge.
What about Paradise?
Oh yeah, no, you're right. Yeah, Paradise, which was great. It still wasn't as good as
Renderware. That was their.
Oh yeah. I see that logo on like tons of games.
Yeah. It's sometimes labeled as a game engine. It's not exactly a game engine. It's more like
it's just a piece of software that they use.
More like a development environment.
Yeah.
Libraries and APIs and all the low-level stuff that big fancy 3D games rely on to get the most out of the hardware.
For sure.
It was used by so many studios on the PS2, the GameCube, and the Xbox, and that EA relegated them to Need for Speed and stopped supporting renderware is crazy to me.
Yeah, oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Next game is Jet Set Radio.
I considered putting that on the list.
I did as well, and then I found out that they are remaking it.
Oh, so, okay.
We don't even need to talk about it because it's coming. So we'll wait and see how that turns out. That's one of
Jet Set Radio.
That was in their trailer I was talking about. Was Jet Set Radio. I really wasn't going to say them, even though they'll never happen. It's never going to happen in a million years.
This isn't a necessarily realistic list.
But it's not a realistic list. And I don't think anyone is clamoring for them, but I would just love to see these two games.
If this was a realistic list, I never would have ended with Quest 64.
Yeah, exactly. No, these two games, they still hold up to today, but if they were modernized, the beauty of them would be insane. And that's Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask. especially Majora's Mask, because it doesn't really run all that well, in all honesty.
I'm a little surprised that they haven't put those 3DS remakes on the Switch.
You know what? I was going to say the same thing, because they are damn good.
Yeah, I mean, the 3DS runs an ARM processor, the Switch runs an ARM processor. They're obviously not exactly the same, but it would make the conversion process a lot faster. I
feel like
easier.
We'll probably get them eventually, of some sort of like that level.
Maybe a collection. You know, remember on the GameCube there was that Zelda collection that put Ocarina of Time, Master Quest on there? Yeah.
I have it.
Yeah, of course.
That's worth some money.
It is. I have Metroid
Wait a minute, no, I don't have it.
I got Metroid Prime Trilogy. I got Metroid Prime Trilogy before. Well, I actually don't have a Wii. I have a Wii U, but I never had a Wii.
Trilogy as well.
But I bought the Prime Trilogy because I'm like, that's not gonna stay in stock forever.
Nope. Yeah,
and that'll be worth some money someday.
Steel tin and everything.
Yep, the beautiful blue, like navy blue, cobalt blue steel book case. Yeah, it's beautiful.
And those are great games.
They are.
Especially on Wii, shockingly.
Yeah, the motion controls work really, really well.
Yeah, that's another thing. I can't believe that those games haven't. Well, I guess the first one's been remastered on
the first one. Yeah, and look, not to throw shade at the other two, but the first one's the best one.
It is the best one. The second one's the worst one, in my opinion. The second one's
rough.
Yeah,
bad.
It's not even rough. It's just doesn't. It's not to the caliber of the first one. The third one, I think, gets way too much flack. I loved it. Absolutely loved it.
The third one, I enjoyed the third one up until the constant like getting into the ship and going to another planet. It's like, we're sticking another loading screen on top of a loading screen. Like,
yeah, that's true.
It really slowed down the pace.
Maybe that could do with a remake.
Yeah. Let you skip through the ship scenes.
Yeah, get rid of those loading screens.
Yeah. Get that PS5 hard drive in there.
Yeah, the SSD-ified. My next one was Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag. I didn't say this one because Ubisoft has confirmed that they are working on Assassin's Creed remakes.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if I was Ubisoft and I was looking at my remakes,
that would be pretty high on the list.
That would be high on the list, and 2 is probably high on the list as well.
Black Flag was because Assassin's Creed 3 has sailing, and people like that so much that
they just made it. We gotta make.
They made a whole game out of it. Yeah. I remember seeing a commercial for Assassin's Creed 4 long before the game came out, and when Assassin's Creed 3 had only been out for like a month. Yeah, it was weird, but they saw that the iron was hot and they struck, and it did really well for them.
Yeah. It's one of the best Assassin's Creed games.
People love Assassin's Creed 4, even people who were really, really cynical about the franchise at that point.
Yep. And it unfortunately doesn't hold up today, in my opinion. They did a kind of a remaster-ish of the game on PS5, but it's just an up-res port, and the loading times are brutal, and it's not open world truly, because to leave the island, it goes into a loading screen to go into the ocean.
Right.
So it's not true open world. So if that I would kill for. That would be an amazing experience.
Yeah. On that note, I nearly put Uncharted Waters on my list, but they continued to make Uncharted Waters games into like 3D. They haven't all come out here, but they continued making them in Japan. So there are 3D Uncharted Waters game. There's an Uncharted Waters online. So saying, they should bring that back. Well, it never really left.
It is still here. Yeah.
So it didn't make sense to put that on.
And my last 2 I didn't say because I haven't actually played either of them. And that's kind of why I want them to be remade, because I can't really go back and play them now and enjoy them because they're
also a good reason to remake something.
They're too old. So I didn't say them, but Dino Crisis. It's basically Resident Evil with dinosaurs. Yeah. So
they do that in the style of Resident Evil. I should have thought of that.
Resident Evil 2 remake style Dino Crisis.
Yeah.
Could be amazing.
I kind of feel like kicking myself now for not thinking of that, because I absolutely would have made that one of my 10.
That one I never played it, and it's right up my alley, but
it's good.
It's just too old for me to go back and play it now.
Though it's a lot harder than Resident Evil, because raptors move a lot faster.
Yes, absolutely. And if they modernized it with that style of remake with like Resident Evil 2, it could be amazing.
Yeah.
And then the last one is Jade Empire. I never played it.
Oh, yeah.
It was an Xbox OG exclusive, and I just wasn't into that.
BioWare.
It was
right?
BioWare. Yeah, I wasn't into BioWare games at that point in time, and I never played it. And
I thought about playing it after playing Knights of the Old Republic, but then I was like, I don't think I can do another one of these games right now. I'm kind of exhausted from the last one, and then I just never got around to it.
I haven't seen much more than just like a screenshot or two of that game. Like that's how little I've experienced that game.
It's like a wushu RPG.
Oh
like,
yeah, I know that it's like basically Mass Effect, but in like ancient China.
Yeah.
With kung fu and that kind of stuff, but that's about all I know. It's available on Game Pass, and I tried to play it, but it's just so old right now that
it's hard to go back to some of that
hard
stuff.
To go back. That generation is hard to go back to if you weren't there.
Yeah. Yeah, it can be.
So it's really tough. But those are my remake games, and that is the end of Topic of the Week.
I think we have pretty good lists.
I think we did too.
For us, because this is obviously just our personal taste.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think most of those would not just be successful with us. I think, I mean, again, the people do not clamor for a Quest 64 remake.
No, but it doesn't mean it would be bad.
Yeah, it doesn't. It could find its audience, maybe.
So let's move on to video game 20 questions.
And we're going to try to get through this faster. We're trying not to make these 4-hour affairs every week, but we're nearly 3.5 hours in.
We're going to try to prevent it from getting to 4 hours. We're at 3:23 right now, so we've got some time, but let's try and do this quicker. So it has been loaded up. Let's start with what we always start with, which is, did it come out after November 20?
No, well, we start with 2000. January 1st, 2000.
Okay. Did this game release on or after January 1st, 2000?
It's going to be really depressing when that middle ground date for us becomes 2010.
Weird. It crashed. Let me try it again. I think it's because the window has been open for 3 hours.
Oh, yeah.
Did this game release on or after January 1st, 2000?
All right. So it is...
Should we ask 2010?
Yeah.
Try and narrow down the decade.
Narrow it down as quickly as possible.
This game released on or after January 1st, 2010. Yes.
Okay, so
we have last 14 years it came out.
That's a lot of space, but it is narrowed down considerably from the 40 to 50 years of gaming that they could potentially pull from.
Let's go with did a first party studio develop it?
Sure.
I think it's a good place to go. Did a first party studio develop this game? No.
Damn. Oh.
That's always a hard one.
Yeah.
Okay, so we know it's third party. So it could be Ubisoft, could be Activision, could be Blizzard, could be EA. Should we go with that standard question we go with? Is it any of those three?
Oh man, at that point it could be Square Enix, because they were publishing so much by that point.
We could say, is this a Japanese developer?
Sure.
Or let me rephrase that. Is the developer of the game Japanese? Yes.
Okay.
So
we need to be having these in the text chat so we can keep track of them.
Oh, my bad. Oh, can you handle it? I'll read.
Yeah, sure. So
what we know is it came out after 2010.
Yeah, after 2000, after 2010.
And it's third-party studio.
Party and Japanese developer.
Yeah. So it could be Square Enix, could be Bandai Namco, could be From Software.
Mm-hmm. How about...
My cat is going crazy.
Is this game exclusive to... Well...
Ooh, if it was an exclusive third-party game, that would narrow it down.
That would narrow it down a lot, but there's also a very high probability that it won't be. But now I'm second guessing it. We need to get through this so we're not here all night. It's 10:30, man. I haven't had dinner yet.
Okay, let's do it then. Is this game exclusive to one platform? Let's say no. So it's multi-platform.
Yeah.
Japanese developer after 2010. So I think we should just pick the big three Japanese developers. We've got Square Enix, Bandai Namco.
Yeah. Was this game...
Capcom.
Yeah, oh yeah, Capcom.
Let's go with is it developed by Square or Capcom? Just to because that eliminates a crap load of games.
Sure.
Is the developer Square Enix or Capcom?
Oh, okay, so still have
From Software, Bandai Namco. Level 5 works for Bandai Namco, right? They're under their umbrella, I think.
I don't know.
That's a tough
Hold
call.
on. Let me go grab my copy of White Knight Chronicles and check.
I'll tell you there. Who else could it? What other Japanese developers? Konami. Kitty, what are you doing? Dante. Oh, you can't see in the background. He's just out of frame. He's playing. Are you playing? He's definitely playing.
No, White Knight Chronicles was not published by Bandai Namco. The first one was published by Sony, and the second one was published by D3.
It could also be Konami.
Here comes the chair scraping against the floor.
I did hear it this time.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Yeah, all good.
I gotta get this thing replaced.
Okay. Was this game developed by Konami or... I mean, we could go Bandai Namco.
Let's go Bandai Namco.
No. Oh, no. So we got From Software, Level 5, Japanese developer, not first party. Those are the only two I can think of off the top of my head.
Be SC, well, not SCEA, but Japan Studio.
Isn't that a first party studio?
Yeah, it would be.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
As long as the EA knows the difference.
Yeah.
Which I'm assuming it did. It hasn't screwed up on that question.
Yeah, we just kind of have to assume that it knows what it's talking about, even though we have demonstrable proof that it doesn't always.
No, it hasn't got that question wrong yet.
Yeah.
I guess was it developed by From Software or who else?
Yeah, but who else but isn't first party?
Yeah, I mean,
that's
Nintendo and PlayStation are kind of
those are first party as hell.
Big ones, right?
Well, Sony is now putting stuff that's PlayStation branded elsewhere. What is it? MLB The Show they're putting out on the Switch?
Xbox, yeah.
No, I'm sure they were putting it out on the Switch in addition to Lego Horizons.
Might be that they're bringing it to both Switch and Xbox. I'm
sure that I saw it during a direct. I remember it being really, really weird, but yeah.
I can't think of anyone else other than Level 5 and...
put it in. Is it from Level 5 or FromSoft?
Was this game developed by Level 5 or From Software? No.
Oh, then it's one of the smaller ones, and there's so many.
Okay, maybe we need to give up on developer here. It's Japanese, so should we ask if it's an RPG?
Yeah, we might as well.
Okay, is this an RPG?
Oh, don't tell me no.
It's not an RPG.
Oh. We're so cooked on this one. We are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 questions in.
We're 9 questions in, and we know basically nothing.
Barely know a thing about it.
We know it's a Japanese game developed after 2010, not exclusive to a console, and it's not an RPG. Oh man.
And it's not from any of the big Japanese developers. It could be it could be a visual novel, man. It could be some obscure little visual novel that neither of us have ever heard of.
It is from IGN's database, though, I'm assuming still.
Yeah, but I'm sure that they have all sorts of esoteric stuff in there. I mean, it's not going to be like a Moby Games database, but it's still going to be pretty extensive. It's been around for a while.
Okay, well, we know it's not an RPG, so maybe we should ask, is it a puzzle, sports... I mean, a Japanese sports game?
Not a lot of Japanese sports. There's some baseball games, but they typically don't do a lot of sports games.
No racing game, Japanese racing games.
Not a ton. There are some. Like
nothing modern, anyway.
Like there's Ridge Racer, but that would be under Bandai Namco. And Mario Kart would be first party.
What genre did I say?
Oh God!
I went something.
I went into racing games. I started focusing my brain on that. Well, it's not going to be a sports game, like we said. It's not going to be a sports game. It's going to be a sports game, and prove me wrong. But
I mean, I gotta ask it: is it a sports or racing game? Just to clear it.
Oh man.
Or we can do sports racing in one genre.
Sports racing or simulation.
A Japanese sim?
Yeah, train sims.
They're Japanese developed?
Yeah, there's a bunch because Japan has a really robust rail system.
Is this a sports racing or simulation? Please give me a yes. It's a no.
No.
Oh, we're so screwed. We could still get it though. Go on. Let's
wow, I spelled sports about as wrong as you could possibly spell it. There. That's correct.
I think we should let's narrow down the date more. Like
2015.
The last 14 years, so like we can narrow it down to 7 years or the last 5.
Yeah, say honor after January 1st, 2020.
Okay. Did this game release on or
we should have done this at the beginning.
Yeah. Oh, I thought we were gonna get lucky with the.
We're so developer. Fucked.
No, so it's a 2010s game, which doesn't
help. Ask if
us.
It was released in North America.
Oh, it will be. It's an IGN. It's an IGN database game. There's no way they would put.
Come on,
There's no way.
You're
I don't.
Sure?
I won't. There's no way.
Okay.
They don't even review games that are likely to get a 5 or lower anymore. Like.
No.
So it's highly unlikely. Oh, we could ask: is this an indie game? Is there indies in Japan?
Yeah, but like I said, there's like a lot of it would be like visual novel stuff, and a lot of Japanese indies. I'm not sure how many of them would come over here.
Yeah, that's true. But yeah, you're right. Who made Danganronpa and like?
Oh Jesus, I don't know.
999 and all that stuff.
I didn't play any of the Danganronpa games.
Oh, damn it! Who made Danganronpa? Okay. You know what? I feel like we're missing a huge developer, and that's the problem.
Oh, Spike Chunsoft. They made,
after 2010 though.
They made Danganronpa. Oh yeah, they. Oh, hold on. After 2010, yeah.
Okay, I'm just gonna ask it. Is this a visual novel?
Yeah.
Let's just ask it that. Is this a visual novel? No, it's not.
No.
What is the game?
Oh man.
Oh, puzzle was what I was gonna ask. Because it could be like Puyo Puyo.
It could be.
Okay, let's do 3 genres. Is this a puzzle? Could it be a platformer? Japanese though? In 2010?
Put in fighting game. There have been some independent Japanese fighting games that have taken off.
Is this a puzzle, fighting, or
I don't know.
They don't have very many shooters.
No, they don't.
When did Vanquish come out?
Like 2012, I think.
Who made it? A Sega. Oh, Sega.
Oh yeah.
It could be a Sega game.
It could be a Sega game.
Son of a bitch.
The problem is in my head, I don't typically think of Sega.
They're not first party.
Well, no, it's not. It's not even that because I've gotten over that. They've been a third party developer for longer than they've been a first party developer. Okay. At least in my life.
Okay. No, I'm gonna ask him about Sega.
The problem is that because Sega was actually founded in the United States, they don't automatically register as a Japanese company in my mind.
No, I know.
They moved.
Sega of America pops in my brain.
Yeah, they moved from Hawaii to Japan in like the 70s, I think, and they've been a Japanese company for most of their existence. But because they didn't start in Japan, they don't always register in my mind as Japanese.
No, I can't believe we've got it.
Yeah,
okay, I gotta ask.
Go for it. That was a big oversight on our part.
It's not Sega.
Oh man.
Okay, is this a puzzle, fighting, or? Man, I swore we had that.
We are 13 questions in, and no closer than we were when we were 3 in.
It's another genre that's Japanese centric. puzzle fighting. Not
man.
RPG, not visual novel, not sports, not racing. I'll just say platformer. Sure. I can't think of anything else.
I kind of feel like we've covered all the ones that are really popular in Japan.
Yeah. It's not.
Ask if it's a mobile game.
Shit, we never figured out if it was what platform it was on, didn't we?
Yeah.
It's not a mobile or handheld game.
Oh, God.
What is this game? It doesn't exist. It's ethereal. A 2010s game. We know a lot about what this game isn't.
Yeah, I was gonna joke that it's True Fantasy Live Online reference made, but that's not post 2010. That's post 2001, but that's it. And we already know it's not
Fantasy
level
Star
5.
Online, did you say?
No, True Fantasy Live Online.
Oh, wait, yeah.
Right. But we also know that it's not level 5.
And we know that's not Sega. Oh, this is painful. Yeah. It's going to be something so obvious that we're
or something we've never ever heard of.
Or something. Yeah, it could be. All right. We got 3 questions left in a guess. I don't think we're going to make this one.
We're fucked.
Is this game played in third person? No. Are you broken and just saying no to everything?
Yeah, because and then what do you do you count a game where you manage things from menus, a third person game? It could be something like that.
Probably not. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, it's not a mobile game. I feel like a lot of those would be mobile.
Wait a minute.
Do they have any first person games?
Oh, I was gonna say check if it's a Koei game, but the Koei Tecmo.
Oh, Koei Tecmo.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It could be a Koei Tecmo. It could be Dynasty Warriors.
It could be Dynasty Warriors.
Is this game? They're the developer, right?
Yeah.
Oh, how do you spell their name? Koei?
Yes.
No. Oh my goodness, this hurts.
It is an imagined game.
This is pain. There is every fiber of my being right now is being I want it to be an AI fuck up.
Yeah.
Just because I feel if it's not and it's something obvious that we've missed, then
it's going to be like Sega Bass Fishing, which is a Sega game. Is not after 2000. Is a simulation game.
I'm just going to ask it, is this a first-person game? Because I can't think of anything else to ask it at this point.
Yeah.
Is this a first-person game? No. This game doesn't exist. This game doesn't exist. We have no idea.
Ask if it's a second-person game.
Oh my god. Well, we have to ask. We have to guess a game, and we don't even have a developer. We don't have a platform. We don't have anything. So.
Oh my god, are we through 19 questions already?
That was 19. Yeah.
Oh.
I have nothing.
All right. Well, let's at least pick a really stupid one.
Is this Quest 64? Imagine if it was. No, it can't. 2010.
Yeah, but if it's an AI fuck up, it could be. Maybe it's a remake of one of the games we listed that we don't know is being remade.
Oh, last week we asked if it was a licensed game right off the bat. We should have asked, is this a remake or has this game been remade? We should have asked that.
Yeah.
Just to go along with the theme.
Yeah.
I have nothing.
All right, let's fucking pick a game out of a hat, I guess. Let's just look for a game that is who the fuck knows. I don't even know what could possibly match that criteria, even as a wild 1 in a million guess.
Oh, who made Katamari Damacy?
Is that
Sega?
That's Namco. Okay. And that's pre 2010.
Okay. Yeah, but they've made 14 games after it, haven't they?
Well,
Katamari this, Katamari that.
Oh, they made second one, third one, fourth one. They made a mobile one. They actually haven't made all that many games. I wish they would have, because I could play those games forever.
I can't even think of a Japanese game that's not from a developer that we've said already. So
yeah,
I have nothing.
Other than some small independent developer.
Who made this guy?
Atlas. Shit.
Oh shit. Oh shit. But no, wait, those are RPGs though.
Yeah,
that's what they make.
The only one I can think of that isn't is Catherine, but that's not within the. Wait, is it?
Well, you know what? Let's just ask it. Is this Catherine? Come on, let's just do it.
Okay,
blind faith.
Fuck it. Let's do it.
Is this Catherine?
God, if we get this,
I will die. I will straight up die. It is not.
Damn it.
And we were screwed.
All right.
It is a Capcom game.
Oh, fuck off. What was it?
Super Street Fighter 4.
Dude.
So this is null.
Yeah.
This does not count. We got screwed.
We got fucked so many times.
Let me see. Does it can I go back and look at the questions?
It is a Capcom game. It is a fighting game.
Yeah. Wait, yeah. I said, is the developer Square Enix or Capcom? No. Yeah, it is. And is this a puzzle, fighting, or platformer game? No. Yeah.
It is.
Fuck you, AI.
Yeah.
You done fucked up.
That is unreliable. That is an unreliable narrator.
That is some bullshit. I don't know how it failed that.
Yeah, because there's 2 points of failure there. The idea that it would fuck... And the thing is, we would have figured out Street Fighter 4. We would have figured that the fuck out. If we knew that it was a Capcom game and a fighting game...
I don't know whether we would have got to Super Street Fighter 4, but we would have come close.
Yeah. And I would count that as the same thing, because that was DLC for Street Fighter 4. It wasn't a separate game like it was with Street Fighter 2. That was DLC.
Yeah, that was some bullshit.
That was an upgrade.
All right, well.
Yeah.
What can you do? AI, you failed us today, so that means our record remains at 2-1.
All right.
So that is the show.
That is it. Still,
as always,
not quite 4 hours, but pushing it.
Yeah, what can you do? we did our best. It was still a good show.
Edit.
Well, there will be edits done by where it'll cut quiet out and stuff.
Yeah,
so we'll see.
Yeah.
But if you want to reach me,
2 minutes.
Yeah, you can reach me at TJ_the_Leo on Twitter. Andrew, you can be reached at ninjas
on Twitter. Fuck X.
Yeah.
Twitter forever.
Just straight up Twitter. And you can email your questions in, as always, to be featured on the show to co.op.podcast@gmail.com. One day we will get a letter.
Someday.
We'll feature it on the show. You could be it.
You could be the first.
Be the first. Email a question in for the show.
About video games. Don't ask us something. Well, you could ask us something stupid and we could laugh at it.
Yeah.
But
whatever.
It probably
say whatever you want.
Read.
I don't care. An email's an email. I'll take it, man.
Yeah.
Don't forget to comment. Hit. Yeah. Exactly.
We have a spot on our inbox. It says 1 new message. Yay!
It's true. I wonder if the forwarding's working. I forwarded them to my email so that I didn't have to.
Oh no, you might be getting millions of emails a day.
Right?
I'll go check it one day. On all these awesome questions.
Crap.
From like the 5 viewers that we have.
Or they might be going in my spam folder. I should check that too. I'll go check it just to be sure.
Yeah.
But don't forget to comment, like, share, subscribe.
Ring the notification bell.
Ring the notification.
Subscribe to our OnlyFans. What?
I don't have one, do you?
No. Of course not.
Giant space octopus.
Yeah. No, that's a different thing. That's a different genre of adult
that
content.
Could be your OnlyFans, man.
Man, that could have been the game from Japan. There's lots of those.
That could have been. All right. This has been episode 7, Video Game Remakes of Press Pause, a gaming podcast. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next week.